In a municipal election here, Minister Kumbutso Ntshavheni says the president will address service delivery challenges and the inability of municipalities to provide basic services.
The majority of the problems we sit here because there's no capacity at that local government level. So he'll make those announcements in terms of that intervention.
On the issue of crime, Ntshavheni has taken a swipe at the City of Cape Town's plans to build a security wall along one of its major highways in an attempt to curb opportunistic crime.
We need to have a conversation with the Western Cape government to say, how do we work together to intervene in those areas that are very underprivileged, that are not seeing progress, to make sure that we bring up to say building of a wall, will that deal with the crime situation?
The president will address the nation at 7 p.m. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Cape Town City Hall.
At the same time, the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry is also expected to feature prominently in the President's State of the Nation address. Ramaphosa is expected to take to the podium at the Cape Town City Hall this evening to present the annual address. Political parties say it would be out of touch for the President to not touch on the Commission's work. The Commission was established by President Cyril Ramaphosa to investigate allegations of corruption in the criminal justice system. Alfa Ramushwana reports.
In recent months, shocking revelations have exposed the extent of alleged corruption within the criminal justice system, with disturbing acts brought to light at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. To date, the commission has recommended that 5 senior police officials and 9 Ekurhuleni Metro Police officers face investigation and possible prosecution. EFF spokesperson Snawo Tambo says he hopes the president will bring the nation into his confidence about how he plans to rid law enforcement of tainted officials.
Crime was one of the priorities that he said he's going to focus on. He's established a commission of inquiry, and then the recommendations of that inquiry has led to him establishing another task team to look into the recommendations of that inquiry. So you can see that there's no commitment to actually ever do anything. He's in a permanent consultative and inquiry phase.
Meanwhile, the ANC agrees that the president must extensively touch on the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News in Cape Town.
You can watch President Cyril Ramaphosa deliver the State of the Nation address last night with expert insights and post-speech reactions live on ewn.co.za. Senior IPID investigator Nomsa Masuku has told the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry that she received death threats while probing the murder of Emmanuel Mbenze. Mbenze was killed, allegedly by members of the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department in April of 2022. His body was later found in a lake in Germiston. He had been linked to a business robbery in Boksburg the previous month, but Masuku could not confirm to the Commission today whether the threats came from suspects in this murder case. Ntutuzelo Nene has more.
Senior IPID investigator Nomsa Masuku became emotional on the stand when asked whether she had ever feared for her life. Masuku revealed that in December 2024, her car was shot at while she was driving on the N17 in Springs with her children inside. However, she says she does not necessarily believe the Brakpan murder suspects were behind the attack, as she is handling several sensitive investigations.
But we soldier on, we continue. It's just that South Africa will never understand what you go through.
In a separate incident, her son was shot and left wheelchair-bound. Masuku believes he was deliberately targeted because he had been driving her everywhere to ensure her safety. Ndutuzelo Nene, Eyewitness News.
The South African Human Rights Commission will send a letter to the National Disaster Management Centre to recommend declaring the water crisis a national disaster. This as pressure mounts in Gauteng for intervention where communities face disruptions in the supply of water. Some residents in areas like Midrand, Melville and the south of Joburg have resorted to protest action demanding running water in their taps. Jabulile Mbata has more.
The latest protests were in the Joburg South with the elderly and people with disabilities, saying they are the hardest hit. The Human Rights Commission adds that schools and hospitals are also suffering. The Commission says government should be reminded that water is a constitutional right, essential for health, education and dignity. Spokesperson Wisani Baloyi says it is their responsibility to ensure that right is protected.
The classification and declaration of the water crisis in the country as a national disaster constitute a reasonable measure in these circumstances. Properly and effectively implemented, the national state of disaster will ensure that emergency funds are mobilized and government collaboration is better coordinated, An intervention of this magnitude is essential amid the ongoing water crisis in the country.
He adds that these funds should not be misused. Jabulile Mbata, Eyewitness News.
And in the UK, a 13-year-old boy has been charged with 2 counts of attempted murder after he allegedly stabbed pupils at a school in London. It's alleged he stabbed 2 boys who were then rushed to hospital in a serious condition. The teen has also been charged with having a knife at school, and using insect spray on a 3rd child. London has long grappled with teenage violence and the use of knives, while violence within schools has been growing nationwide. The teen is expected to appear in court this afternoon. Gold is trading at $5,074.83 an ounce. The rand is at 15.92 to the dollar, 21.74 to the pound, 18.93 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $69.40 a barrel.
Isando, Kempton Park, we still have slow-moving traffic. That's on the R24 westbound between the R21 split and Barbara Road. In Santon, heading towards Midrand, bumper-to-bumper traffic. This is on the M1 northbound between Ethel Oaklands and Marlborough Drive.
In your sport, Manchester City reduced Arsenal's lead at the top of the Premier League standings. Nottingham Forest already interviewing candidates following Sean Dyche's departure. And Italy crushed Nepal for their first win at the T20 World Cup.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today with scattered showers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 30 and 31 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Minister in the presidency, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, says South Africans can expect the president to address key issues affecting them in tonight's State of the Nation address.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. Calling all the brightest minds in Gauteng. Time to flex your general knowledge smarts in the brain of 702. Enter now on primemediaplus.com. T's and C's apply.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
"702 Drive with John Perlman" is proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possibility begins here. Good afternoon, everyone. It's 9 minutes past 3 on Thursday, the 12th of February. This is 702 Drive with me, John Perlman. Wherever you're listening to us in 702 land, welcome to the show. What will President Cyril Ramaphosa say tonight? And will the South Africa he portrays in his State of the Nation address this evening resemble the place where you live, strive and struggle? We'll catch up with Mandy Wiener and Clement Magnatella. They're covering Sona for 702. We're going to have the speech live on radio. You can also watch it on primemediaplus.com, and they'll have a great array of guests afterwards to react to what's been said. Before that, Clement and Mandy both with us between 5:30 and 6. Prior to that, there is this question. What is the State of the Nation address actually meant to achieve? Is it a list of ideas? Is it a report back on last year's State of the Nation address? It's probably a mix of all of those things and more. Analyst Professor Richard Calland joins us for that after 4. He's been watching Sona's literally over decades, and his insights will be interesting. In other stories, evidence at the Madlanga Commission has linked suspects to the murder of a man in Ekurhuleni. All of that tied up with the investigation into a range of key power players in that metro. Karen Morn from News 24 joins us at 10 to 4. In by-elections yesterday, the PA, Patriotic Alliance, has gained an important seat in George. As I always say when we talk by-elections, these are not one-on-one accurate predictions as to what will happen in local government elections later this year. But boy, do they guide us to some important trends. Wayne Sussman joins us in a moment to pick through exactly what those trends are, and of course to tell us what actually happened when the by-election voters went out in the Western Cape, KZN and elsewhere yesterday. And as government promises a national effort to deal with the water crisis, what realistically can they do in the short term? And is the creation of task teams and war rooms and intergovernmental this and that not actually going to get in the way of actually getting the job done? Might we not find that some of the best doers are now in forums where they have to engage with the talkers? Not necessarily the best way to get things done, but Deputy General in the, Director General in the Department of Water and Sanitation, Sean Phillips, will put us in the picture. He's with us after 5. On the markets today, modest gains for the All share today, which is up by 370 points. Sasol is leading the way, up by 6.4%. Aspen has gained 4.9%, and ABI InBev is up by 3.2%. So petrol, beer, and pharmaceuticals all doing well on the same day. Any kind of pattern you can put together there? If you've got an insight or just a wild guess, drop me a note. 072-702-1702. Not such a good day for South 32, the coal company, and Telkom, both down by 3%. Rand currently trading at 15.87 against the dollar. Not much movement over the last 24 hours. Similarly with the euro, currently costing 18 Rand 86. Some gains for us though, our currency I should say, against the pound, 21 Rand 66. That's a 7-cent gain against sterling. Brent crude is currently trading at $69.09 a barrel, down in price by 54 cents. Stephen Curtis joins us with all the market news at 25 past 4. I'll be interested to know, by the way, do we have a kind of little trading lull against Sona, or does the world turn uninterrupted as far as markets are concerned? I must remember to ask Stephen that a little bit later. Sport with Tola Kele Mganga and Bali Dlamini has the latest news headlines. We'll get Karabo Chale's take on what's happening on the roads. This is 702 Drive. We're live in the place where you live, and if it's happening in 702 land, you'll hear it here first. Of course, if you know about something before we know about something, or you know some things about things we think we know about but don't know everything about, get in touch on 072 702 1702 or 011 883 0702. A less roundabout way of saying things. If you see some news that we need to know, those are the numbers to use. It's 14 minutes past 3.
702.
Let's walk the talk.
As there always is in this, I don't know, what do you call it, hyperventilating country of ours, we're always involved in some kind of drama. I can't remember a quiet news day over about 2 decades. Maybe Christmas, but yeah, they're few and far between. So there's always lots to talk about, lots to inquire about, and plenty to think about. Now, we do sometimes throw out some random thoughts, things that have popped into our head. For example, I thought to myself, when somebody with a car with tinted windows waved at me, I thought to myself, why bother? Because I've no idea who you are. Because I can't see you behind the tinted glass. If you have tinted windows, do you wave? And if so, tell me why. But a much more serious question came up yesterday as various leading political figures were engaging with Joburg residents around the water crisis in the city. Comments made by Premier Panyaza Lesufi certainly got a lot of tongues wagging. Let's play you a piece of what he said yesterday, then I've got a question for you.
People think that if there is no water, ourselves, our families, we've got special water. We don't. We also go through, in some instances, I had to go to a certain hotel so that I have to go to my commitments. We also go through the same inconveniences like any other person. There's no special water or a special pipe that is designed to service other people and not service other people. Our families, our relatives, ourselves, our constituencies, they suffer the same pain. We don't have water when communities don't have water. But what we need to do, we've got the responsibility to fix the problem. We are coming to you that the problem is almost fixed.
So, just as an aside, this reference, and I've harped on this before, but I'm not going to stop until people stop using the word inconvenient and inconveniences for things that have absolutely dire consequences. And they do, because kids can't go to school, sometimes because there's no water. Kids can't go to creche, and creches are business. businesses, and they get put at risk. People who run car washes, hairdressers, restaurants, and so on. These are not inconveniences. They are the massive disruption of people's lives due to a range of factors. But one of those factors is that the resources of different arms of government are not properly used to deal with what is, I accept, a massive problem. But it's made far worse by the fact that all those things are not dealt with. That said, let me get to the question I want to ask you, because there wasn't a question there, unless you want to ask me a question about the view I've just expressed. It really is a word that does not serve anybody. Two of them, inconvenient and inconvenience. And that includes the plural, inconveniences. But here's the question, and it's a serious one. For people who've been without water for long stretches, what are you actually doing to keep yourselves clean? Mm-hmm. And it's of massive importance. There are dignity issues, but I would suggest there are also material issues as well. If you've got to go for a job interview, if you are going on a date, and I don't mean that trivially, because people's mental and emotional and psychological well-being is also affected. And we don't need to be undermined any more than we are by the stresses and strains of living in this country, and arguably in this particular set of cities that make up Gauteng. But yeah, what are you actually doing? I mean, I don't know if you've been in this situation, the Refuwe, where you've been without water for a while. I've had a few stretches of that, and I've found it very, very difficult. But I don't for a minute suggest I'm on day 24 like some people.
Whew. This is a bit triggering. Good afternoon, John, and to the rest of the 702 family. So back home, we constantly have water issues.
And just to be clear, you're referring to Velkom.
Velkom. Yeah. Constantly have water issues. I mean, for instance, right now, we stop having water from about 4 in the afternoon, and then it comes back the next morning at 4 a.m. But I know, and this has been for years. So what we've done to sort of cope with the situation, we've got buckets that we fill water. And constantly, every day we're filling water. I can't tell you how many buckets we have, over 20 buckets. It's not fun. I mean, what if you need the bathroom now, you're doing a whatever,
yes.
You now need to go outside to go get a 5-10 liter bucket and put in the bathroom. Because, I mean, it's not great. Even when guests come around, you have to now explain, hey, we don't have water from 4 p.m. So
yes.
If you're going to use water, remember that.
Yeah.
It's not great.
Yeah. And as you say, it's a constant presence in your daily life. How about you, Karabo? I mean, whether it's your direct experience or conversations you've had with friends and family?
Well, with me, I have to say I've been lucky that we haven't had those kind of problems in my lifetime, you know. Maybe we'll have we'll go without water for 2 days max, and usually I'll be privileged. We have showers here at work, so I'll come shower. So just like Refuwe, we also just have 5 liter
canisters,
just for in case. But for me, it's frustrating. But for my missus, she really isn't that bothered about it as much as I am, because she's from Zeerust, where they also have a similar situation as Refuwe, where they can go days without water, and they'll have to fill up buckets or JoJo tanks. But when I visit them, I get so frustrated because I'm not used to the whole Vascom washing or bathing in a Vascom, having to warm up, heat up your water before you bath. It's just, for me, an inconvenience.
Yeah. And you can't even get used to it. I mean, this has been happening a lot back in Velkom, but each time I go home, I'm like, this again. And they'll have countless meetings about, no, we're going to fix this problem, comrades. And it's not been fixed at all.
So tell us your stories, please, and how are you dealing with this? I realize I'm asking quite a personal question, but I think it is in the personal stresses that so many of you are being put under that I think the true consequence of this neglect is actually being felt. So over to you. It's up to you what exactly you want to talk about. We're ready to listen. It's 21 minutes past 3.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Okay, let's find out what's happening out on the roads. Karabo, busy yet?
Yeah, no, there's an issue when you, if you're leaving OR Tambo International Airport, that's in the Isando Kempton Park area. This whole afternoon, we've been having a 20-minute delay. This is on the R24 westbound between the R21 split and Barbara Road. Not clear what's causing this delay. So if you are on that route, please let me know. WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702. So avoid that route if you're leaving OR Tambo International Airport heading towards Joburg. There's also slow-moving traffic in Sandton. That's on the M1 northbound between Ethel Oaklands and Marlborough Drive. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
The Speaker of Parliament, Togoti Diza, as we look ahead to the State of the Nation address by President Cyril Ramaphosa. And in terms of costs, how are we looking this year compared to where we were last year?
We are looking reasonably well. The cost is more or less 7 million that we've spent for this year. And you'll recall that we could have kept to the same number last year had it not been for the challenges of the inclement weather, the gustly wind that we saw in Cape Town.
Clement Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
Love is in the air this February. Join your favorite pride of Jozi, the DP World Lions ladies, for free this weekend at Dobsonville Stadium in Soweto. Catch the double-header action against the Garden Route Badgers, a 50-over match at 10 a.m. Saturday and T20 at 11 a.m. Sunday. Beyond the boundary, it's Love Cricket with coaching clinics, player interactions, info sessions, and chill picnics. Win epic prizes like tickets to SA versus India, women's T20s at Wanderers in April, return flights, Sun City stays, vouchers, hampers, appliances, and more. Music's pumping. Come cheer on the Lions ladies.
Progress builds, it moves, and it has a partner. That partner is Anglo-American. Together, we're building progress where it matters most across South Africa, with 1.6 billion rand unlocked for entrepreneurs through our Impact Finance Network and 25.9 billion rand invested through our Kumba iron ore business into infrastructure development, healthcare, community upliftment, and more. These are just a few examples that show when collaboration is real, progress moves faster. As a proud sponsor of the Investing in African Mining Indaba, we are working with our partners to unlock mining's full potential. South Africa has a partner. Anglo-American. Mining potential. Building beyond.
Different sounds, different worlds.
Different artistic expressions, music, art, and fashion collide. Are you coming? Let's go to the place where the beat drops, the fashion pops, and the art rocks.
We're talking Focalistic, Dali Wonga, Mafigi Zolo, Kurt Darren, Maclara Doughboy, Zoe Mudicha, Claire Johnston from Mango Groove, the Tswani Gospel Choir, and more. Mahindra Fusion Fest, Saturday 7th March, Sunbet Arena. Tickets on Ticketmaster now. See you there.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Just a couple more things on water. I'm getting some responses from you. Mukhotsi says, at least other South Africans are feeling the pain that we, the people of Jericho Village in Northwest, have been feeling since the dawn of democracy. The last time we had water from our taps was while Lucas Mangope was still president of Botswana. Just by the way, to add one quick thing on my list of things that I suggest politicians don't say when they're dealing with the water crisis, beginning your less than convincing explanation as to why we're in this dire situation by saying water is life. Yeah, I think many people have already noticed that. I think you could perhaps leave that and get straight to the point. 25 minutes past 3.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Well, of course, the by-elections coming up, or the by-elections we're seeing are a prelude to local government elections later this year. And I would have thought issues like water provision are going to be absolutely front and center in more communities than not. But the by-elections are already underway, and they do give us some kind of insight as to who's thinking what. One of the key threads that has been pulled through our by-election conversations with a guest I'm about to introduce or reintroduce, because you know him well, is the challenge being mounted to the DA by the Patriotic Alliance in certain population centres in the Western Cape. The focus yesterday was in George, and giving us his take on that is election analyst Wayne Sussman. Wayne, welcome again. So in George, the Patriotic Alliance up against the DA. Tell us before you give us the result, or give us the result and then tell us, up to you, why is George so interesting in perhaps some kind of bellwether?
Well, George is the third most populous municipality in the Western Cape. It's the most populous municipality in the Garden Route district, many municipalities there. And there's been a whole raft of defections from the Democratic Alliance to the Patriotic Alliance. And that's the reason why I've had all these by-elections. And this was the third consecutive by-election in George in 2026. And in each of those three by-elections, John, the Patriotic Alliance have taken wards off the DA. And when one goes back, John, to 2021, the Patriotic Alliance had a paltry one single seat on the George Town Council.
Right.
And now, in 2026, they've won 5 by-elections in this term of office, 4 off the DA, seats off the DA, 1 off the Good Party, and they're now the third largest party. So they are very well placed. And to make matters worse for the DA and quite frankly, all the other parties, the PA had its best result in a by-election in the Western Cape, and certainly in George yesterday, when they won 65% of the vote in a DA seat. So a massive swing, John. And essentially what we're seeing here is a continuation of the trend you and I have spoken about, that good voters and local small party voters are all shifting en masse to the PA, plus a continuation of the trend of the PA able to turn out voters who didn't vote in the previous election and or are first-time voters. But crucially, worrying me for the DA, because up until now the DA have held on to its support. So, i.e., the DA are losing the ward, but are getting a similar percentage. Yesterday, we saw a clump of those DA voters moving over to the PA as well. So this is a great result for the PA.
And just on your point, getting voters out who didn't vote before, the previous poll, 44% of the voters roll up to 53%. If there's time, I want to come back to that trend in a moment, but I don't want us to miss out on KZN. A very, very close electoral race the last time this particular seat was contested. Ward 3, Hlanzeni and Kalokazi, which is in the Ugu municipality on the KZN South Coast, I think it is, Ugu district. What happened there? Very close between the IFP and the ANC before this time round?
This is a fascinating seat. The IFP retained the seat. But, John, in 2024, when one looks at the voting districts in this ward, it was Umkhonto Sizwe who was the most popular party in this ward. They got about 36-38% of the vote. So last night, the IFP retained the seat. They went down from 50 to 43%, 50% to 43%. The ANC fell from 46 to 35%. But in a distant third place was Umkhonto Sizwe. So the IFP will be very happy that they retained the seat and they draw first blood in this electoral year in the battleground province of KwaZulu-Natal. But I would say Umkhonto Sizwe would be disappointed. They didn't beat the IFP or the ANC in any district. And the IFP retains the seat over here. And now, John, over the next few weeks, I hope to have the privilege of discussing them with you. You and I will have a lot of, because there are a lot of KwaZulu-Natal by-elections coming up in the coming weeks.
Yeah, very interesting. Quickly, if we can just go back to George for a moment and the trend of the Patriotic Alliance taking these DA seats. Is this in any way related to the fact that an individual defected from one party to the other and brought their personal support? Or is there a bigger trend in which people are being drawn to the PA? And if it's the latter, what exactly do you think is drawing them?
Yeah, well, I think Gayton McKenzie is a very charismatic politician. Obviously, the DA have been governing George for a long time, so maybe its supporters and the community have some fatigue in that regard. But there's a big challenge here in the DA. I mean, the DA, I think this is the third mayor in this term of local government. And The DA now has a narrow majority with its coalition partners, and it will need to hold on. If it's going to retain power in 2026 in the local government elections, it's going to have to win back some of these supporters. So this is very, very worrying, John. But it's the PA is on the rise across the Western Cape and in many parts of South Africa, but the DA's ground zero at the moment to the PA is certainly in George.
Thank you so much, Wayne Sussman. Fascinating, these little trends, little streams of political development that might become bigger streams and may well become rivers as we hit the local government elections. We're way off yet, but when there are by-elections, we'll cover them closely. We'll bring in Wayne, who's got a sharp eye on this. Thanks to him for his time today, 28 minutes to 4. Right, let's get the very latest eyewitness news. The build-up to Sona, security a component of that. Bali Dlamini has the latest news on that score. Good afternoon.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Acting Police Minister Feroz Kachalia has called on the various law enforcement units deployed for the 2026 State of the Nation address to work together. He addressed an integrated law enforcement parade at the Castle of Good Hope this afternoon. The various policing units, which include the SANDF, the SAPS and the City of Cape Town's Metro Police and Traffic Services lined up in drill formations to listen to the acting minister. Ramaphosa is expected to take to the podium at 7 p.m, but the red carpet festivities will be kicking off at 5 this afternoon. Carlo Peterson reports.
General Fani Masimola started off proceedings at the Castle of Good Hope today by addressing the officers about the purpose of their deployment, saying they have a duty to ensure a peaceful State of the Nation address. Acting Minister of Police Feroz Kachalia followed by echoing Masimola's sentiments, saying Sona deserves the highest level of excellence from police.
I am particularly pleased to see members of our National Army here alongside members of the South African Police Service for reasons that will become clear in the days ahead.
Kachalia has indicated he will be meeting with various stakeholders in the Western Cape over the next 2 months to address concerns about ongoing gang violence and crime in the province. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News at the Castle of Good Hope in Cape Town.
Human Settlements Minister Thembisi Melane has described the NPA's failure to prosecute apartheid-era cases as a backdoor to amnesty. She says this has played out in the advantage of perpetrators who are yet to be held accountable for the crimes. Simelane has been giving evidence at the TRC Cases Inquiry, which is probing allegations of political interference in apartheid-era prosecutions. Her sister, Nokuthula Simelane, disappeared in 1983 while on a mission for the ANC in Eswatini. Simelane told the inquiry that after the TRC Commission referred her family's case and that of 25 others to the NPA, they were simply ignored and the docket lost.
I found it very, very uncaring for the NPA not to even look for one or two people to say, what do you think are your views? Now that you have gone through the TRC, I view it as a backdoor amnesty. So we kept on being dragged and pulled as if no one cares about how we feel.
The College of Cape Town may soon be placed under administration. Higher Education Minister Buti Manamela appointed the Stabilisation and Governance Support Team to investigate alleged governance failures at the institution. In its report, the team found the principal had promoted people close to him without following transparent legal processes. The report also reveals that the College Council extended a security contract previously declared invalid by the Western Cape High Court in 2024. Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education, Tebogo Letsie.
The report reveals deeply troubling conduct by both the Council and management. We welcome the recommendation that the Council of the College of Cape Town must be dissolved and replaced with an administration.
Letsie also expressed disappointment at the failure of the team to recommend that the principal's employment be terminated.
We further raised concern about the appointment of the principal's personal assistants as the Council Secretary without any formal process. This was a clear weakening of Council independence and amounts to capture of Council processes. We stress that the accountability must follow.
And in Nigeria, 30 people have been kidnapped from 2 Christian communities. According to reports, bandits stormed the communities, forcefully seizing 30 residents and wounding a local chief. Among those kidnapped are a pregnant woman as well as a child. The latest kidnapping comes after 51 people were abducted in 3 days of unrest in Kaduna State last week. Criminal gangs regularly raid communities and kidnap for ransom in northwestern as well as central Nigeria. A partly cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng tomorrow, with showers and thundershowers expected. Lows of between 16 and 18 degrees and highs of between 26 and 28.
Well, in Sandton, there's that slow-moving traffic on the M1 northbound between Ethel Oaklands and Marlborough Drive, while in Isando, Kempton Park, you can still expect about a 20-minute delay on the R24 westbound from OR Tambo International Airport all the way to Barbara Road.
The top story in EWN, Acting Police Minister Feroz Kachalia has called on the various law enforcement units deployed for the 2026 State of the Nation Address to work together.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
In the time of 33 percenters, I suppose 41 out of 100 is not a bad score. The 2025 Corruption Perceptions Index from Transparency International puts us at exactly that spot. What would you like to hear from the president that says a report like this is something he's taking seriously?
I would wish I could mute the president, but wake up tomorrow to action. The president has said so many things. From the time he started and was telling us Tumamina, what is going to change?
Wow, tough words there. Lebogang Ramafoko, the Executive Director of Corruption Watch.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Joburg Ballet presents Giselle, the most sublime of all romantic ballets, at the Joburg Theatre from Thursday 12 February to Sunday 15 February. Giselle is a heart-rending story of love so powerful that it reaches from beyond the grave. It lays bare a tale of passion, betrayal, and forgiveness, with one of the greatest of all ballerina roles at its core. There'll be 2 Valentine's Day performances at the Joburg Theatre on Saturday 14 February at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. It's the ideal opportunity to celebrate this romantic ballet with your Valentine. And later this month, Giselle will be at the South African State Theatre in Pretoria from Friday 20 February to Sunday 22 February. You can book tickets for Giselle at webtickets.co.za.
The Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra presents its Valentine's Gala concert with music to melt your heart. Conducted by Daniel Boyko, the concert features award-winning pianist Charles Duplessis and showcases South Africa's ballroom champions. Saturday, 14th February at 7 p.m. at the Linda Auditorium. Tickets at Quicket.
The Checkers Extravaganza is now on. Save extra on new deals every week. Like Coca-Cola Original or Zero, Fanta Orange or Sprite Soft Drink, a 300ml 6-pack, any 2 for $49.99. Clover Buttro 500 grams, 2 for R159. And Nivea Body Lotion 400 mils, any 2 for R99. Valid until 15 February 2026. Only at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. So I have only been without water for like 9 days before. And the thing when water, that was the longest. And when water goes off, it is like my throat immediately closes up and dries up. My throat, like, I don't know, I go into a panic mode. Even though I have a borehole, we always make sure we have 10 liter bottles of water standing. But just the thought of not having water, I also buy water, so it's not like I'm gonna thirst because the water's now all of a sudden off. But just the thought that there's no water in the pipes makes my throat go dry and into a panic mode. So I don't know how people are surviving.
Hello, John. I moved to Randburg from Belcom about 6 years ago, and I can fully understand the pain there. But unfortunately, Joburg is going the way that most of the Free State towns are going. There's just no infrastructure. Like Refilwe said, it's just promises and promises, and the next party comes into power, and then it's promises that we will repair But drive around. Welkom was under siege from potholes for a very long time, and one of the major issues was broken water mains underneath the roads. And what are you seeing in Joburg, Randburg, all these little suburbs these days is exactly the same, and nobody's repairing it. There's no preventative maintenance, and we are going to go exactly the same way that Welkom and countless other small towns in the country is going.
Hi, Tata John and the team. This is Anonymous from Macau in the northwest. Oh, this issue of water, it's really challenging. You know, we don't even have running water. Like in my section, we don't even have running water. The corruption that's happening this side, every time when they fix the pipes, they'll just have to see someone's gonna sabotage the pipes, and then these water tankers, they come and they fill up, and the life goes on. So we are really struggling, but yeah, it's part of life. So this is Anonza.
Thanks for that. Just on that subject of water tankers, I mean, most of the comments on them have been very, very critical. Now, I just want to throw this open as an opportunity to have a right of reply. If you run a water tanker business, or an element of your commercial life is that you provide water tanker services to, it doesn't have to be Joburg, it can be any entity in the country. And if you feel you are running a decent business, you're providing a service and that you're getting a bad rap, please feel free to call in. We'll put you on air. We'll give you a hearing, because it may well be that there's some people who are giving your sector, if I can call it that, a bad name, and you feel that's unfair. I'd be happy to hear from you. 011 883 0702. One more from Moya Habo says, poor citizens go for months without, and the Premier comes bragging about the hotel. When there is no water, I don't bath because I don't even trust the truck delivery water. I always have 5 20-litre buckets filled with water for emergencies, and concludes South Africa alive with possibilities. I just would say one thing. I don't think the Premier was saying that by way of a brag. I think he was making something of a different point, saying that everybody is affected by water, including him. I think, nevertheless, the example he gave and the point he made in making that larger point has, got the scrutiny, I think, that he probably should have expected. I'm just not sure bragging was quite the word. 17 minutes now to 4.
EWN Sport.
Round of games in the English Premiership last night. We've got Nedbank Cup in South Africa tonight. And, of course, the World Cup T20 keeps on providing excitement and surprises. Here to wrap it all up, Tolakele Mganga. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, John. And Pep Guardiola has promised that Manchester City will breathe down the neck of Arsenal as they aim to hunt down the Premier League leaders in the title race. City have started to gain momentum and now trail the Gunners by just 3 points following last night's 3-0 win over Fulham. And the London side will have a chance to respond this evening when they travel to Brentford.
Always I said, it's focus, grow. So it's how we can be more consistent during 90 minutes, how he can be better, and the players feel that doing what we want to do, wow, we can do it, in terms of mentality and patterns, defensively, offensively, and that we are doing.
A second managerial post has opened up in the Premier League over the last 24 hours. That's after Nottingham Forest sacked Sean Dyche after just 114 days in charge. They're now searching for their 4th permanent head coach of the season, having also parted ways with Ange Postecoglou in October and Nuno Espirito Santo in September. Multiple reports claim that Forest have opened talks with former Wolves boss Vitor Pereira to succeed Dyche. At the same time, Thomas Tuchel has signed a new contract to commit himself to England until Euro 2028. Tuchel was appointed in 2025 on an 18-month deal to take England to this year's FIFA World Cup, but will now lead the host nations at the Euros, which will be staged in Britain and Ireland. Under him, England have won 8 of their 9 games, with their only blemish being a friendly loss to Senegal. In domestic football, selected Nedbank Cup last 16 ties will see Lamontville Golden Arrows at home to Stellenbosch. Orlando Pirates clash with Keswick Stars, while TS Galaxy will host Mamelodi Sundowns. Grant Gekana says this competition is important for the Brazilians, having lost their last 2 cup finals.
I think every competition is big for us. We enter each and every competition to try to win it, not just to compete, but rather to dominate. So it's a big competition for us, and we want to do our level best to give ourselves a chance at winning it. And the game against TS Galaxy will be a step in the right direction.
Co-host Sri Lanka claimed a 105-run victory against Oman to make it 2 wins from 2 at the T20 World Cup. They had posted 225 in their 20 overs, which is the highest total at the tournament so far. And in response, their opponents finished on 120 for 9. Meanwhile, Italy claimed a historic first win at an ICC event following their 10-wicket hammering of Nepal. Tola Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Coming up now for 14 minutes to 4 o'clock, EWN Traffic is brought to you by South African Airways. Make your move this Valentine's. Book your romantic getaway at flysaa.com. Problems out in Kempton Park. We had some reference earlier to issues around the OR Tambo Airport. Karabo Charlie has all those details for you.
Well, John, I have to say I have good news for you. The delays are through Isando Kempton Park on the R24 westbound. That's between OR Tambo International Airport and Barbara Road. Traffic through there is looking much better. I see things are starting to move through there. I understand there was roadworks earlier, but then they've just cleared them a few minutes ago. So nothing to worry about if you're leaving OR Tambo International Airport heading towards the Bedford View area at this stage. However, in Sandton, this is traveling towards Midrand. We still have bumper-to-bumper traffic on the M1 northbound. That's between Ethel Oakland and the Patlu interchange. Otherwise, the rest of 702 land not looking too bad at this hour. Just look out for those faulty traffic lights in Edenville at Morafontein Road and Van Riebeek. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Valentine's weekend is almost here, and this is your sign, so make your move. South African Airways has amazing fares to your favorite destinations. Fly to Cape Town from just 1,144 Rand, Durban from 690 Rand, and Gqeberha from 655 Rand. And that's just the beginning. Explore even more destinations at flysaa.com. Make the move. Surprise your loved one. Make it a Valentine's weekend to remember. Book now at flysaa.com or contact your nearest travel agency. T's and C's apply.
You're now listening to 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
So, 12 minutes to 4, the South African Human Rights Commission says the water crisis in the country should be declared a national disaster. I suppose my concern would be if we declare all sorts of things national disasters, I'm not quite sure what the impact of that would be. I know that it does create a certain legal framework in which some things can be done. But yeah, that's something of an aside. Earlier, I was just asking the question, if you are or have been faced with protracted periods of going without water, how have you gone about dealing with your personal hygiene, getting ready for work, getting spitzed up and absolutely ready and at your most confident, excellent best for that job interview or that presentation you're doing or the first date? All of these things are important, and I don't throw in the latter one with any kind of frivolity. I think our emotional well-being is critical as we live in a country that tests our ability to be emotionally stable in all sorts of unpredictable and unfortunately extremely predictable ways. So, Tolakela, I don't know if you've been faced with a long period of being without water, but if you haven't, if you have, tell us about it. But if you haven't, maybe you can sort of think yourself into that situation, because people are taking severe strain. I think it must be even worse for those who've got children or elderly relatives who are dependent on you being able to help them out. But your opening thoughts, I mean, I think this is serious stuff.
John, it's so frustrating because I remember, I think we had it the third weekend of January, and we have our ward councillor has a WhatsApp group where, like, literally when something happens, you can just post it in there and they'll give you updates.
Right.
And to hear them go, oh no, Thursday it'll be fixed. No, Friday afternoon it'll be done. Saturday night it'll be done. Sunday. And then you're just sitting there going, like, what do you want me to do? Because
Yes.
you tell me that I must report and then you provide me with the service, but nothing comes of it. For me, it got so bad that by the time like Saturday night hit, I called my mom and was like, I'm coming home.
Yes.
Because I cannot do another 2 days of no water. And then I ended up there I was, me living alone, having to go back home to take buckets of water so that by the time I
Right.
get to my house, at least there's something that I can use to prepare me for the week ahead. And just watching like the parents say, guys, like our kids can't even do the bare minimum. They were ones that had toddlers and small babies and were saying, I can't even warm up milk because there's no water to help me with the milk. It's a disaster, and I don't think people that are in charge completely comprehend how much your life is at a standstill when something like that happens, because everything stops. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah. Well, of course, they insist, well, we suffer alongside you. And you know what the Premier of the province had to say is well known. It doesn't need me to repeat it. But I heard Kumbudzo Nchaveni, Minister in the Presidency, talking, I think she was on Newsroom Africa today, and saying, well, you know, it's same thing. It's affecting all of us and we all suffer with it. But I don't think that is the popular perception. I get that they don't have their own water pipes, and I think that point is fairly made. But I think there's a sense that there is a way of navigating through these problems that is made much more easier if you have access to money and access to power. And certainly in regard to the former, access to resources, I'd put myself in that category. I'm able to make plans that somebody with 3 children who doesn't have their own vehicle and needs to try and make a plan to get them ready for school is in a way, way, way different and more difficult position. Keep your thoughts coming on that, please. 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. It's 7 minutes to 4. Let's catch up with the Madlanga Commission.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Well, an investigator, a senior investigator at the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, I think you know it better as IPID, Nomsa Masuku, has been giving evidence to the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, very much focused on the murder of someone called Emmanuel Mbense. This came up first in conversations around, or I don't know if it was very first, but certainly prominently in the questioning of the suspended acting chief of police in Ekurhuleni, Brigadier Mkhwanazi. And it really, Julius Mkhwanazi, and it really was brought into quite stark focus today as Ms. Masuku testified as to what she was trying to find out and what she'd managed to actually establish in this regard. Let's bring in Karen Morn, a journalist at News 24, who's been watching this very closely. Karen, a very good afternoon to you. As I understand it, some very, very important developments around the killing of Emmanuel Mbense. The background, as I understand it, police went to his house. He was suspected of being involved in crime, I think related to hijacking of commercial vehicles, allegations that he was tortured, then killed and then dumped in a dam. What have they managed to, according to Ms. Masuku, to establish about who's responsible?
Well, essentially what we heard today was that the docket in this particular matter was with the DPP, and the DPP in 2023 had decided not to prosecute it, but there are now ongoing efforts to change the trajectory around this. But what was shocking, John, is that we've heard today that 4 of the 12 suspects that had been identified, of course, including Julius Mkhwanazi, are now dead. There's literally a trail of death and blood linked to this particular case. And of course, Masuku herself detailing to the commission how in the course of her investigation, she and her children had been shot at. That in the subsequent incident, which she didn't necessarily link to that particular investigation, her child, who was trying to drive her to various places, he was also shot in injuries that almost left him paralyzed. So she was very much trying to counter the evidence that was given, amongst others, by Chief Mapuyeye, Revo Spit, and witness B himself, Marius van der Merwe, who also ended up dead. We know killed on the 5th of December. We know another one of the suspects in the case turned a gun on himself earlier this month. that, trying to counter the suggestion that IPID had been deliberately inactive on this case and saying, look, I was extremely opposed to Fundamava giving evidence at this commission because I feared the kind of implications for the investigation. And also my primary concern, quote unquote, was for his life. So truly extraordinary evidence coming out that really, John, speaks to the absolute apparent systemic inability to hold certain police officers accountable for the deaths of alleged suspects. We don't even know if he was a suspect, that are in their custody.
I mean, Karen, one thing that struck me, and just stepping off the specifics of the evidence for a moment, because I watched a fair bit, and what struck me about investigator Masuku was, we've seen so much of the worst of the South African police services at both Madlanga and down in Parliament at the ad hoc committee. I saw somebody who had been through an incredibly difficult time, expressed herself extremely precisely and gave across, despite moments of vulnerability when she spoke about the shooting of her son, came across with an air of great professionalism, but above that, really steely determination. And I thought that was important.
What was so extraordinary yesterday during her testimony was that IPID was never alerted to this case, as they should have been, as the IPID Act requires. Even though there was manifest evidence that police were at the scene of the alleged murder in those hours of the 15th of April 2022. They weren't alerted to it. It was only through another police officer from Johannesburg calling her and saying the family of Emmanuel Mbenze is incredibly distressed about what happened to them.
Yes.
She then goes to visit this family and initiates kind of her own investigation, but is confronted with an inquest docket, not even in a murder docket, that falsely characterizes this death as unnatural. She then establishes that Emmanuel Mbenze, who on the evidence of Fundamava was repeatedly subjected to apartheid-style torture by being tubed, which of course is when a plastic bag is hauled over your head so that you are suffocated, then suffers cerebral blunt force trauma, and that is what kills him. She then gets reclassified as a murder, and then she goes about engaging with the family and advocating for the family and holds on to the case, even in circumstances where other police officers may have made a decision not to do so that she can, quote unquote, get justice for this man's family. And I absolutely agree with you, but there were moments when she gave testimony, and it reminded me also very much of Witness B's evidence. Again, another female police officer who stood in the arms of Armin Swat's widow and cried with her on the driveway of their house about her husband's murder. That we do have to realize that there are exemplary officers, that there are people putting their lives on the line, and that in both instances, these are not high-ranking police officials that have on the version of the evidence that has been led before the commission, become apparent easy access for criminals, alleged criminals like Kat Matlala and Katie Molefe. These are individual on-the-ground cops who genuinely care for the families of the people who have died in highly questionable and possible and murderous circumstances, and want to get justice for them. And we should be supporting and advocating for.
Thank you so much. Karen Morn, legal journalist, News 24. 702 Drive. It's coming up for the news at 4.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Maboja, 1 to 3 p.m.
We are talking about why chanting is considered holy.
Chanting helps you to keep saying the same thing until you come to a form of realization that this ought to be true, and it provides a certain level of healing.
Words have power, especially when you repeat them over and over again.
Exactly.
Reverend Charlotte Rose Mudau.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
Municipal services are vital to keeping the city safe, clean and functional. By paying for municipal services such as your water bill, you're investing in Joburg's water supply. Paying for your services is not just a transaction, it is a commitment to your community's sustainability. Help pave the way for a brighter tomorrow, one payment at a time. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water, a water utility that cares.
For Mamotsatsi and Kensani of Design News, a beautiful room starts with a rock-solid connection. Tell us what was slowing down your growth.
It would have to be slow network coverage.
Now, Telkom Business Fiber lets the team process large renders while the landline keeps supplier calls coming in.
Get Call Light Fiber from 655 Rand per month and unlimited VoIP 1 from 99 Rand per month. Call 10213 or click telkom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
The team's on a roll today. Let me focus on payroll. Duty calls in the kitchen. That's why I have a business insurer that is agile and on the ball all the time on all things. I chose My Way Business Insurance, getting 24/7 emergency service and saving on my premiums, plus my business assist to handle my admin.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
Driving the conversation on 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Powered by Telkom Business. Possible begins here. This is EWN.
The EFF has no confidence in the president ahead of State of the Nation address, and Kat Matlala granted some reprieve in consulting with his lawyers. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. The EFF says it has little hope that President Cyril Ramaphosa's State of the Nation address will provide solutions to South Africa's slow economic growth. Treasurer General Umphile Mautwe says Ramaphosa has failed to grow the economy and implement undertakings made in previous State of the Nation addresses. The President will deliver his 10th State of the Nation address at the Cape Town City Hall this evening. Babalondenze reports.
The EFF is not optimistic ahead of President Cyril Ramaphosa's second State of the Nation address as the head of the Government of National Unity. The party says it's already failing to implement undertakings in previous Sona speeches. EFF Treasurer General Umphile Mautwe.
When he took over government in 2019, there were less unemployed people than there are now. And what then do you do with a stagnant economy that is not growing? Stimulate the economy. He's not doing that. Instead, he's introducing what we call an Operation Vulindlela.
The opposition party has also given the JNU a fail mark, saying it's not addressing systemic challenges like unemployment that leads to other social ills like crime. Babalondenze, Eyewitness News, Cape Town City Hall.
At the same time, Minister in the Presidency, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, says citizens can expect the President to address key issues affecting them during tonight's State of the Nation address. The issues will include the water crisis in Gauteng, crime and the impact of foot and mouth disease. Ntshavheni says it is important that all South Africans feel the impact of their government delivering services to them. Lindsay Dentlinger reports.
As the country's economic hub and parts of the Garden Route battle water shortages in a municipal election here, Minister Khumbudzo Ntshavheni says the President will address service delivery challenges and the inability of municipalities to provide basic services.
Majority of the problems we see here because there's no capacity at that local government level. So he'll make those announcements in terms of that intervention.
On the issue of crime, Ntshavheni has taken a swipe at the City of Cape Town's plans to build a security wall along one of its major highways in an attempt to curb opportunistic crime.
We need to have a conversation with the Western Cape government to say, how do we work together to intervene in those areas that are very underprivileged, that are not seeing progress, to make sure that we bring up to say building of a wall, will that deal with the crime situation?
The President will address the nation at 7 p.m. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Cape Town City Hall.
To watch President Cyril Ramaphosa deliver the State of the Nation address with expert insights as well as post-speech reactions, you can go live on ewn.co.za. While the President has deployed ministers to address the water crisis in Gauteng, some residents say they have lost faith in government interventions. The President has instructed ministers of water as well as COGTA to remain in Johannesburg today to address the crisis rather than attend the State of the Nation address in Cape Town. The ministers have been conducting oversight visits to various reservoirs. Despite this, protests in different parts of Gauteng are continuing. Earlier today, residents in the south of Joburg took to the streets after facing 4 days without water. Resident Zubair Patel.
Tired of it. We don't want trucks. We want the dignity for which we pay and
the dignity for which we pay is the rates and taxes means water out of the taps.
He says government has been communicating too many reasons for the outage instead of providing water in their taps.
And the information that we're being fed just doesn't add up. Is this a load shedding bolt in the works again? Nothing makes sense. It just doesn't make sense. We want it coming out of our taps.
In the courts now, the Johannesburg High Court has handed down an order allowing alleged crime boss Vusimuzi Matlala to physically consult with his lawyers with ease. Today, the court received an update on the readiness for pre-trial proceedings and a request for Matlala's lawyers to have easier access to him for consultation. Matlala, his wife Tsakane, and their co-accused face 25 charges in connection with 3 botched hits between August 2022 and January 2024. Khomotso Modise has more.
During Vusimuzi Matlala's last court appearance, his lawyers complained about the conditions at the eBongweni super maximum security prison where he was transferred to in December. But today they informed the court that he's been held at the Khosi Mampuru prison in Pretoria since his last court appearance last week. Matlala's lawyer, advocate Annelien Panayeva, has told the court that she still experiences challenges when trying to consult with him at CMAX and has requested that the court allow that he be brought to the Johannesburg High Court for consultation. But Judge William Karam handed down a judgment to make consultation easier at the Khosi Mampuru prison. He's ordered that the prison make a consultation room available where Matlala and his lawyers can physically sit together with no obstruction, where they can also hand documents to each other. He's also ordered that Vandehever be allowed to take a laptop in. Matlala and his co-accused are due back in the High Court on the 26th of this month for a pre-trial hearing. Khomotso Modise, Eyewitness News at the Johannesburg High Court.
And in Bangladesh, voters have taken to the polls in the country's first election since a deadly 2024 uprising. Leading Prime Ministerial hopeful Tariq Rahman says he is confident his Bangladesh National Party can regain power in that nation. But he faces stiff opposition from a coalition led by Muslim-majority Islamist party Jamaat-e-Islami. More than 300,000 soldiers and police have been deployed countrywide to ensure the voting process is secure. Gold is trading at $5,074.81 an ounce. The rand is at 15.93 to the dollar, 21.78 to the pound, 18.93 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $69.40 a barrel.
Lenasia, that's south of Joburg, you can expect about a 20-minute delay on the Golden Highway between the N12 and the R554 Nirvana Drive. Or if you're driving through Protea Glen, there's also bumper-to-bumper traffic. This is on the R559 main road opposite GOG Gardens.
In your sport, Manchester City reduced Arsenal's lead at the top of the Premier League standings. Nottingham Forest already interviewing candidates following Sean Dyche's departure. And Italy crushed Nepal for their first win at the T20 World Cup.
A partly cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng tomorrow with showers and thundershowers expected. Johannesburg drops to overnight lows of 16 degrees, peaking at 26. Pretoria 18 and 28, and Vereeniging 17 and 27 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. The EFF says it has little hope that President Cyril Ramaphosa's State of the Nation address will provide solutions to South Africa's slow economic growth.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
702.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, it's 10 minutes past 4. It's good to be with you. The State of the Nation address soon to take place down in Cape Town. We are going to be joined a little bit later by our two colleagues who will be anchoring things for you as the time of the broadcast draws near. Clement Manyatela and Mandy Wiener both down there. They'll be hosting you from 6. They'll be available but not active, of course, while the speech is being delivered. They might step in if there's any kind of breakdown or disruption of the speech, but Mandy and Clement then will engage with all sorts of political and business leaders and trade unions as well afterwards to go through what's been said and promised and reflected on by our head of state. Before that, we are going to be... So Mandy and Clement are with us between sort of around 5:30 onwards up until 6 o'clock. Before that, Director General in the Department of Water and Sanitation, Dr. Sean Phillips, joins us for an overview of all government efforts as they try to deal with the massive water crisis that's spilling out all over the country, but hitting Gauteng particularly hard. I think it's fair to say over the past couple of months. Dr. Phillips will be with us at about 5:15. We asked you the question, if you have been without water for a long time, how are you coping? How are you dealing in particular with your personal hygiene needs? And by the way, if you run a small business, I mean the ones that come to mind for me, car wash, hairdresser, restaurant, coffee shop, I would think most businesses get hammered if they don't have water. But give us a call on 011 883 0702 072 702 1702 if you'd like to tell us your story. 702 Drive, it's 11 minutes past 4.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
H2O Hour on the greatest show with John Perlman. My hometown is at Tweefontein, Kwandebele area. The water situation has been bad for years. We usually get water once or twice a week, and my mother's yard is one of the few with running taps in those 1 or 2 days a week. So after she filled up, she opens the yard for the entire community because most houses, their tap have been dry forever. Thank you.
Yeah, Driefontein out in Kwandebele, not that far from Gauteng, hey? Let's go to the northwest for another bit of feedback. Nobody, no name on this, but says, good afternoon, Ntate John. In Mafeking villages, you'll find that there is no water at all in any of the villages. When you go to town, you'll pass water trucks drawing water from the main sort of reservoir tap, drawing water from there and selling it to people. It means they close up the main tap to make quick rands for themselves. I feel water problems are manufactured, as most of the people high in government positions now apparently own water trucks. Same with rail. Most of the ANC members own trucks, so they will never fix our railways. These are serious. This represents and reflects a fundamental undermining of people's belief in the integrity of government, and it's not only its ability to deliver basic services, but its political will to do so. Hope people are taking notes. There was comments made yesterday saying, oh, this is all being exploited for political purposes. We heard that from both the executive mayor of Joburg and the premier. It is political. It's fundamentally political, and I think that's the way people perceive it. It doesn't need politicians. People draw direct links between who are the people in charge, how did they get into that position, and what has been the outcome of the period of time they've had to make a difference in people's lives. It's unavoidably political in my view, at least. 14 minutes past 4.
EWN Traffic.
Right, EWN Traffic is brought to you by South African Airways. Make your move this Valentine's. Book your romantic getaway at flysaa.com. Karabo Charlie, Lenasia. Presumably people heading back to Lenasia, or is it in the community itself? You've got some issues there.
Well, I believe it looks like it's heading into Lenasia, where you can expect about a 20-minute delay on the Golden Highway between the N12 and the R554 Nirvana Drive. This is pretty unusual at this time of the afternoon. So if you are in and around the area on that route, please let me know what's causing this delay. WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702. Still in the south, in Protea Glen, traffic sluggish on the R559 main road. That's opposite GOG Gardens. While in Midrand, heading towards Centurion, slow-moving traffic N1 northbound from the Betlu interchange to New Road. And in Sandton, also bumper-to-bumper traffic on the M1 northbound between Ethel Oaklands and Marlborough Drive. If you come across any other traffic issues, you can also SMS us on 31702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Valentine's weekend is almost here, and this is your sign. Make the move. South African Airways has amazing fares to your favorite destinations. Fly to Cape Town from just 1,144 Rand, Durban from 690 Rand, and Gqeberha from 655 Rand. And that's just the beginning. Explore even more destinations at flysaa.com. Make the move. Surprise your loved ones. Make it a Valentine's weekend to remember. Book now at flysaa.com or contact your nearest travel agency. T's and C's apply.
Stay with 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Well, of course, today especially, but even in the earlier parts of the week, quite a lot of mention made of the State of the Nation address. It's something that happens every year, and like so many things that happen every year, you get kind of used to it happening. And then Kabazela earlier asked a very good question. He said, what is the State of the Nation address for? What exactly is it all about? And I thought that was a pretty good question, a very good question indeed, in fact. So we're going to look at this in some detail now. And welcome to the show, a man who's written a book about all of South Africa's presidents, looked at each of them in turn. The book is called The Presidents. Professor Richard Calland is also director of the Africa program at the Cambridge Program for Sustainability Leadership. Prof, welcome, and thanks very much for giving us your time. Has the State of the Nation ever changed in its purpose, in the way it's been delivered, in the content of the speeches, or has it been pretty much the same from 1994 onwards?
I think its core purpose, good afternoon, John, its core purpose has remained pretty constant, which is this, that the president, who is the head of the government, but also the head of state, and our constitution distinguishes those two hats that he wears, comes to the nation and says, this is the state of the nation, this is how I see it. He looks back and he also looks forward. So it's a report back, but it's also a look ahead. And he's supposed to lay out the kind of state of play, his game plan, and his strategy for what he's going to do and his government is going to do to tackle the challenges and the problems that he sets out in that speech. And it's symbolic because there is, of course, all the ceremony around it. But it's also a symbol of democracy because it is the head of the state and the head of government coming to Parliament and through Parliament addressing the nation. And that's a significant thing. And of course, everyone may complain or not be that happy about the road closures and the military and the flyover. But it's also the military respecting the head of government and the head of the state in a democracy. And of course, that point this year has a little bit more poignancy because of what happened recently with the military exercises that took place, the naval exercises that took place, and the shenanigans around those.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, if you look at the content of the speech, and I want to go back to what you were saying there, it's a look back and it's a look forward as well. We get on the one hand the very general, like corruption is a scourge and we will leave no stone unturned and work tirelessly and all of that generality. And then presumably there will be, as always, some things that look a whole lot more specific. The difficulty with those, of course, is tracking them year to year to see if either they've been repeated or, more crucially, whether they've been delivered. But what's the balance? Because Sona, as I recall, is always meant to contain some hard stuff. We will do X by date Y.
So my view on that, very good question, John, is that one needs to look at the speech through two lenses. One is the speechcraft lens and the other is the statecraft lens. The speechcraft lens is about the oratory, the design of the speech, its structure, its narrative, its tonality. And that's important in politics because you've got to show confidence, you've got to present hope, you've got to also be clear in your messaging, and you've got to tell a story. The statecraft is basically saying, and by the way, this is what we're going to do and why.
Yes.
And you've got to get the right balance between the two. And over the years, it's varied greatly. So you had in the Mbeki era, he would come along and say, I'm going to present the apex priorities of his government. And he then listed, I think it was 23 things, which, by the way, is not an apex. It's a table mountain. It's a plateau of things.
Yes.
But, you see my point. Other presidents, Zuma, for example, who didn't really care for the exercise very much, simply cut and paste paragraphs and pages that were sent to him by his ministers and read them out like a laundry list. And that's very boring, first of all, but it's also not very helpful. You don't want a laundry list. You want some specificity, but only about the strategic choices and priorities that are being made. And that's where the statecraft comes in. He's got to explain to us with sufficient granularity that it's credible, but not so much detail that it's both boring, but also a laundry list. This isn't a plan, it's a strategy, or at least that's how it should be presented.
So, Prof, I mean, one of my frustrations as a journalist, I was working it out. I think I did 22 Sonas before I moved to the afternoon show here, and we put a different team on it at 7:02. But one of the frustrations I had is in the aftermath of Sona, whenever you asked for detail, you were told, no. Well, in each of their votes after the budget, the Minister of X or the Minister of Y will give more detail there. And I get that that's in the structure of the speech, but I did feel as if it was a little bit of a fig leaf giving cover where those specific details hadn't yet been hammered out, and we were still at the stage of leaving no stone unturned.
Yeah, again, a difficult balance to be struck.
Yeah.
I think structurally it's right that the minister through his or her budget speech will provide the detailed plan, and that's where you'll find it. And of course, the budget speech in 2 weeks' time is supposed to tell the country how it's going to be paid for. 2 weeks after the president says, here are my priorities, here's the big plan for tackling the challenges of the country, and then 2 weeks later the Minister of Finance says, and this is how we'll resource it and pay for it, etc. That's the structure. I don't like speeches that have too much detail, and that's not because I'm not interested in the detail. It's just I don't think you will sell a credible story to the nation if you over-embroider your speech with the detail. You have to have a clear set of priorities. You have to say, okay, the big issue at the moment is water. I am therefore going to appoint a X team to go and do whatever to solve that problem. And this is what will happen next. And in 6 months' time, we will have solved it. It's that kind of commitment that the president needs to make in a speech.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, Prof, because obviously there's been a huge amount of communication around water prompted specifically by the extreme difficulties in Joburg, but also in Tshwane. But what we're hearing from our listeners through the course of this show, which is scarcely breaking news, is that if you talk about rural South Africa, this has been protracted and brutal over a long period of time. But park that thought and come back to this. I've heard a quite remarkable level of reliance on we have created structures, intergovernmental task teams. It's clearly a priority because the president has created this or that structure. And I'm wondering if in offering that, and I'm sure we're going to hear a fair bit of that in Sona tonight as well, that this government has revealed a fundamental weakness in their ability to actually tackle fundamental problems, that when in doubt, create a structure, create a committee, create a commission, and above all else, have a plan, even if 2 years later you've got to explain why you haven't implemented it. Hasn't this president in particular dug himself a particularly deep hole in that regard?
Well, it's true that he is very fond of process answers to difficult problems. So he will create a structure, or he will create a committee or an advisory body or this, that, and the other. That is how he handles difficult choices in life. He's done that throughout his political career. And he's very good at process, and he's very good at using process to mitigate risks and to manage political problems. But I think he may have overused it. And I think there's a sort of cynicism, an inevitable cynicism around that. So people, in my book, which you kindly mentioned the president's, and that was 3 years ago, I think I tallied up the number of such structures and processes he'd created, and it was already sort of 30 or 40.
Goodness.
Far too many. You've got a government, govern. And I think the weakness is that a lot of his government doesn't govern and doesn't govern well. And he almost admitted that 3 years ago when he, in a passage of his speech, a famous passage of that year's Sona, he said, the private sector is where the action is. The private sector will create jobs. The private sector will do things that we can't do. And he was basically saying, my government is not capable of doing what needs to be done, and therefore I am creating space, even more space for the private sector to step in. That was a strategic choice, and probably a good one at the time, given the state of capacity in government. And so he made that choice, and he conveyed that choice to the public.
Yeah, well, we'll see what he conveys tonight, but thank you. Wonderful insights there from Professor Richard Calland. He's Director of the Africa Program of the Cambridge Program for Sustainability Leadership. In the book I referred to, The President's is his take on all of them. President Mandela, President Mbeki, President Motlanthe, President Zuma, and now President Ramaphosa. State of the Nation address tonight at 6 o'clock. Our coverage begins. It's 26 minutes past 4.
EWN Traffic.
EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS the word out to 45142 now, and you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Karabo Charlie, we were talking about Lens, Lenasia a little bit earlier. What's the latest there?
Yeah, you can still expect about a 20-minute delay. That's in the Lenasia area on the Golden Highway between Fun Valley and the R554 Nirvana Drive in Protea Glen. Also, traffic a bit sluggish on the R559 main road opposite GOG Gardens. In Midrand, there's slow-moving traffic. N1 northbound, this is between the Between Interchange and New Road, Santon. We still have bumper-to-bumper traffic heading towards Midrand on the M1 northbound between Ethel Oakland and Marlborough Drive. In Boksburg, heading towards Brakpan, there's heavy delays. This is on the N17 eastbound between Osborne and Rondebold Road, and also in Irene. Traffic heavily backed up on Main Road approaching Naumay-Pierce Drive. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a shift worker making his way home and daydreaming about his next career move, his next chapter. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's a possible light bulb moment that could change someone's life. Every story is different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. EWN Business.
28 minutes past 4, time for business. I noted at the start of the show, Stephen Curtis, that I must ask you, do the markets have any kind of pre-Sona pause, or is it business as usual?
Excuse me, John, no. I think generally speaking, business as usual. A couple of reasons. Firstly, some of the companies' results, and there are quite a few today, would have been sort of set pretty much in calendar stone years ago. I mean, Sona's normally confirmed kind of November, December, but even before that because of the cycles that they're on. And then the greater kind of dynamics in the world, you know, the gold price and all the rest, and just the fact that most of our index isn't owned by South Africans or is sort of part of the PIC or is part of much bigger funds that don't move very quickly. So to an extent, no, but as always, it depends. Certainly the currency could move depending on what happens, but the story at the moment is still dollar debasement. So for the moment, not so much, but hey, what do I know? Let's check back. Ask me again tomorrow.
You know a good amount, and you're going to share it with us now.
Indeed. The JSE All Share up 0.58%, 122,463 points. Financials up 0.77. Industrials up 0.65. Resources up 0.75%. John, probably the story really of the day is around Tongaat Hewlett. It's not listed there. Its shares have been suspended. But the business rescue practitioners there say they're applying for the company to be provisionally liquidated. They say there's nothing more they can do. There was that transaction with the Vision Group that seems to have fallen apart. And you may remember this was all about an accounting scandal over sugarcane root futures, if I remember the phrase correctly, was really led by the CEO at the time, Peter Stoudy. That's where all of the investigations went. So that's in serious trouble. AB InBev saying their earnings per share up by 6% in its full year to December. On a constant currency basis, underlying earnings up by 9%. Their volume's down, though, by over 2%. People are drinking less beer. Heineken saying it'll cut 6,000 jobs internationally this week. And as a result, AB InBev are actually up 4% on the day. Aspen Pharmacare up 8.14. There was a statement from them after trading yesterday. It sort of explained the losses and where they were headed, but I think the market had been expecting worse, hence the positivity now. And Sasol's up 6%. Spar also up 2.78 and Truworths up 2.33 at the moment as well. Telkom down 3.25%. British American Tobacco down 3 and South 32 down 2.74. They put out a statement today confirming they'll close the Mosul aluminium smelter in Mozambique next month. I mean, it's going to have such a big impact on us, John. It's going to have a massive impact on the Mozambican economy, but Mozambique's electricity provider has refused to sign that new agreement to supply the smelter with power from the Cobora Bassa Dam. The only thing that could really save it now, and I think this is already being hinted at, is whether or not Eskom's sort of older coal-fired power stations, which are kind of not in cold storage but care and maintenance, could be fired up to run our smelters and along with that run Mosul as well. I don't know how much appetite there is for that at this stage. It's hard to know. In the US, we have seen that futures have edged slightly higher because of yesterday's strong jobs growth. There was a wonderful comment on the Money Show last night. The jobs numbers were so confusing, it'll take a little while to understand what they mean. And I think the market has finally decided that it's good news, even though it reduces the chance of an interest rate cut. So we're waiting on that. The gold price in the meantime, $5,076.01 an ounce. Platinum, $2,128.10. Brent crude, $68.97. The rand to the dollar ahead of the speech, 15.83 to the euro, 16.81 to the British pound, 21.61. Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen. 28 minutes to 5 o'clock now, and Baali Dlamini joins us now with the very latest Eyewitness News. Good afternoon.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gwahube hopes President Cyril Ramaphosa will be generous to the sector when he delivers his State of the Nation address this evening. Gwahube says Ramaphosa should nudge his finance minister to give the sector a bigger funding allocation so it can address some of its key challenges like scholar transport as well as infrastructure. Ramaphosa will deliver his 10th State of the Nation address this evening, where he will be outlining government's plans for the year ahead. Babalondenze has more.
Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gwahube says the sector has been under a lot of strain over the last decade with little to no investment. She says she hopes President Ramaphosa will endorse her department's strategic reorientation of early foundation phases, which is the most important. Gwahube says Ramaphosa must prioritize basic education when he addresses the country tonight.
And so really the sector, because of 10 years of underinvestment, is starting to really feel the pressure. So I'm hoping that he can be generous in saying that greater allocation and greater spending patterns, because it's not just allocation that must be right.
Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana will table his budget in 2 weeks' time, where he is expected to give a bigger allocation to basic education as it implements its new strategy and the Bella Act. Babalondenze, Eyewitness News, Cape Town City Hall.
Watch President Cyril Ramaphosa deliver the State of the Nation address with expert insights and post-speech reactions live on ewn.co.za. The South African Human Rights Commission will send a letter to the National Disaster Management Centre to recommend declaring the water crisis a national disaster. This as pressure mounts in Gauteng for intervention where communities are facing disruptions in the supply of water. Some residents in areas like Midrand, Melville and the south of Joburg have resorted to protest action demanding running water in their taps. Jabulile Mbata has more.
The latest protests were in the Joburg South with the elderly and people with disabilities, saying they are the hardest hit. The Human Rights Commission adds that schools and hospitals are also suffering. The Commission says government should be reminded that water is a constitutional right, essential for health, education and dignity. Spokesperson Wisani Baloyi says it is their responsibility to ensure that right is protected.
The classification and declaration of the water crisis in the country as a national disaster
constitute a reasonable measure in these circumstances. Properly and effectively implemented, the national state of disaster will ensure that emergency funds are mobilized and government collaboration is better coordinated. An intervention of this magnitude is essential amid the ongoing water crisis in the country.
He adds that these funds should not be misused. Jabulile Mbata, Eyewitness News.
Let's stay with this story. Some disgruntled 702 listeners have threatened to punish the ANC at the polls at the upcoming local government elections following Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi's water blunder. During a press briefing to address the persistent water challenges in parts of Joburg yesterday, Lesufi tried to allay frustrations by telling journalists he is equally inconvenienced by aging infrastructure and system constraints.
I mean, in some instances, I had to go to a certain hotel so that I have to go to my commitments. We also go through the same inconveniences like any other person.
He later apologized in a one-page statement on his X account where he said he regrets the impression his comments gave, adding he is not immune to the frustration of water shortages. Despite the turnaround, Lesufi's comments have been met with outrage, with affected residents accusing him of being tone deaf.
Panyaza speaks from a place of privilege. We are here today because of the ANC. Thank you so much, Panyaza. We'll see you at the ballot box.
I thought he was the intelligent one, he's going to turn things around, but Panyaza, you are just like all of them.
Mr. Lesufi, I hope you know we're going to vote.
I think Panyaza's apology stroke explanation is almost as bad as the original statement itself. What people are miffed about is the fact that he appears to rub his privilege in people's faces.
A partly cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng tomorrow, with showers and thundershowers expected. Lows of between 16 and 18 degrees and highs of between 26 and 28.
Lenasia, you can still expect heavy delays on the Golden Highway between Fun Valley and the R554 Nirvana Drive, while in Midrand there's slow-moving traffic N1 North from the Batlut interchange to New Road, and in Boksburg traffic pressure on the N17 eastbound between Osborne and Rondebolt due to ongoing roadworks.
The top story in EWN, Basic Education Minister Sivuya Kwahube hopes President Cyril Ramaphosa will be generous to the sector when he delivers his State of the Nation address this evening.
702 Afternoons
with Relebohile Maboja, 1 to 3 p.m.
We are talking about why chanting is considered holy.
Chanting helps you to keep saying the same thing until you come to a form of realization that this ought to be true, and it provides a certain level of healing.
Words have power, especially when you repeat them over and over again.
Exactly.
Reverend Charlotte Rose Mudau.
702 Afternoons
with Relebohile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
Zandi Finga's Hive promo agency was growing fast, but the paperwork was catching up. What were you up against?
Challenges that were slowing down my growth was finding clients as well as organizing the promoter application.
But with Yep for online visibility and Zoho to manage her database, she has turned chaos into a well-honeyed hive. Get Yep by Telkom Business from 249 Rand per month and Zoho from only 1,260 Rand annually. Call 10213 or click telkom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Outsurance business insurance. The cost was far less. I even have better benefits.
Outsurance business insurance clients know that it pays to switch. And did you know you get 24/7 access to panic assistance, roadside assistance, and even office assistance for guest houses, catering companies, and all other businesses. Get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online. Limits apply.
Get the advantage this tax year end with Sage. No stress, no scrambling. Just seamless HR and payroll that keeps you ahead of UIF, PAYE, and employment equity. All in one smart cloud solution. With automated compliance, real-time accuracy, and simplified HR and payroll. Give your business the tax year end advantage. That's Sage. Visit tax.sage.co.za today.
EWN Sport.
Tolakele Mganga with the very latest from the world of sport. T20, Proteas women up against Pakistan.
Absolutely, John, and they'll be looking to win that series when the two nations clash in the second of 3 games tomorrow. In the first meeting, Kayla Reineke impressed on debut with an unbeaten 29 off 16 balls, having also taken 2 for 13 in 4 overs. Annery Dirksen has expressed her pride at that performance, having been on the other side of the pitch during her innings.
It was sort of a weird role. I think I was almost seen as a senior player because she made a debut, even though I still view myself as quite young. Obviously, I think probably not used to reviews and just started walking off the field and I sort of had to shout at her to please review. But yeah, incredible to have almost a front row seat to that, like I mentioned. Almost felt like I couldn't time a ball and she was just there smashing it. So yeah, for me, I just tried to keep her calm and keep her focused.
Tapelo Qoki insists that Orlando Pirates will not get carried away with talks of a quadruple following the draw for the last 16 of the Nedbank Cup. They'll face Castrick Straws in the next round as they look to add this trophy to the MTN 8 and Carling knockout, which they won earlier this season. Added to that, they're 3 points clear at the top of the Betway Premiership standings and are looking to end their 13-year wait for the championship.
The nice thing about this season has been the long break. It has helped us to kind of settle down and reflect on the first part of the season, but also have a renewed energy to go on for the second part of the season. But there's a lot of improvement that we can still improve on, and that's the one thing that helps us grow. We know that we've fallen short in some instances, so we still have a lot of room to improve.
Brighton midfielder James Milner has equalled the Premier League appearance record after coming off the bench at Aston Villa for his 653rd top-flight game. The 40-year-old has now moved level with Gareth Barry, having made his league debut with Leeds United back in 2002. On the pitch, the league action continues tonight with just one game as log leaders Arsenal travel to Brentford. With their lead at the top now trimmed to 3 points, Mikel Arteta says there's no room for complacency from the Gunners.
It's going to be a really tough game. We know that the run that they are in, how strong they've been at home as well. The last few results that they had, the work Keith and the coaching staff are doing, amazing. Big credit to them because they are a top side.
Tolagele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Cars.coza. Let's find what moves you at 18 minutes to 5. Karabo Charlie, what have we got?
Well, this time let me start in the city of Tshwane, Irene. Traffic heavily backed up on Main Road. This is approaching Nelmaypers Drive, while in Ekurhuleni, Edenville, expect some delays on the R24 westbound from Edenville Road to the Gilulis interchange. Boksburg, traffic pressure on the N17 eastbound from Osborne to Rondebowl due to roadworks, while in Sandton we still have bumper-to-bumper traffic on the M1 northbound. This is between Ethel Oaklands and Marlborough Drive. Midrand, slow-moving traffic N1 north from the Between interchange to New Road. There's also slow-moving traffic in Protea Glen. This is on the R559 Main Road opposite GOG Gardens. Lenasia, you can still expect heavy delays on the Golden Highway between Fun Valley and the R554 Nirvana Drive. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
It's Carl de Koza here in another Carl de Koza production starring Carl de Koza and Cars.coza. In this country, we don't just drive cars, we love cars. So slide into our DMs on WhatsApp and let's find what moves you.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
With President Cyril Ramaphosa expected to outline the Government of National Unity's priorities for the year, political parties are anticipating that he'll address plans to tackle the water shortages in detail. DA National spokesperson Karabo Khachau says it would be inconsiderate for the president to ignore the crisis, especially as some communities are experiencing water outages at the same time as the State of the Nation address.
Help fix water and sanitation infrastructure, which is a massive need for our country.
But government spokesperson William Baloyi says the president will definitely present plans to address the water supply challenges.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
Stop and think. Will you survive the AI revolution or thrive? Regenesis students are thriving. 11 cutting-edge schools, 111 countries. World-class team of 1,111 with one mission, awakening your potential. Choose from law, business, technology, AI, health, economics, entrepreneurship, public management, skills academy, and digital regenesis. Undergraduate, postgraduate, upskilling, customized corporate programs. The question isn't, can you afford to enroll? It's, can you afford not to? Enroll now. Regenesis.net. Achieve your dreams.
Hollywood Bets introduces the Soccer Punters Challenge Weekday Edition, a new platform dedicated to the beautiful game. You stand a chance to score a share of the 1 million rand daily jackpot. Bet 5 rand or more on selected EPL, PSL and UEFA Champions League clashes during the week and correctly predict 8 out of 8 winning margins. You could also win the free daily leaderboard prize, where a share of 25,000 rand is up for grabs. Bet now.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
For over 30 years, Bid Air Cargo has been keeping South Africa's supply chain moving, giving our economy the dedicated cargo capacity it needs. Whether it's really, really urgent, oversized, or hazardous, when a shipment has to fly, we make it happen. Linking all major airports with reliable freighter services, our promise delivers. Bid Air Cargo. Every kilo counts.
When the brightest brains collide in the biggest general knowledge quiz in Gauteng, it's time for the Brain of 702.
It's time to put your brilliance on display in the Brain of 702. Prove your mental might for your chance to win a share of 130,000 Rand in cash. And of course, there is the highly coveted title of the Brain of 702. You could win 1,500 Rand in this round and another 1,500 if you win tomorrow on Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa. The Brain of 702. Your brain, our stage. Are you ready to step into the spotlight? The winner of this round gets 1,500 Rand and will be crowned the Brain of the Day and go on to play again tomorrow and possibly through the rest of the week, where on Friday afternoon, that person stands to win 10,000 Rand as the weekly Brain of 702. Ultimately, you could go on to win a further 30,000 Rand should you be declared the Brain of 702. To be part of the action, register on primemediaplus.com and we could be calling you to put you through our qualifying rounds. So, let's meet our contestants. Winner this morning with 4 points on the line to us from Germiston, Modise Matube. Welcome back and good luck for the next round.
Thank you, John.
Modise Matube is up against Selby Masekela, who's joining us from the northern part of Gauteng, on the line from Centurion and playing for the first time this year. Selby, welcome and a very good afternoon to you. We wish you good luck as well.
Thank you, Dr. John, and good afternoon to you.
Okay, so just to remind you of the rules, you have 60 seconds to answer 15 questions. The contestant who gets the most answers correct is the winner. If scores are equal, we'll play sudden death. Just a couple of other things. I need your answers nice and promptly. And if I ask you to spell a word, always have a go at spelling it. If you're trying to save time by saying pass, I will spell it anyway. So it's always worth it to see if you can get that point and use up those seconds for a practical purpose. So the rules are clear. The contest is about to get underway. Modise Matube, your time starts now.
3, 2, 1.
Spell the word quarrel.
Quarrel, Q-U-A-R-R-E-L.
Correct. True or false? A beret is a hard, flat Brazilian hat.
True.
False. How many official languages does South Africa have?
We have 11.
12. Which team fields more players, basketball or polo?
Polo.
Basketball. Which color in a rainbow is on the opposite end from violet?
It's purple.
Red. Complete the saying. Desperate what? Call for desperate measures.
Desperate times.
Correct. How many different South African banknotes are currently printed?
We have about 10, 20, 50,
5.
100. We have five. Yeah, five.
What is the title of the documentary movie about the American First Lady?
No, pass.
In which sport would players compete for the claret jug? Okay, I don't think you had a chance to get in that final answer. Let's just see what the judges are saying. You got 3 Modise, so not quite up to the performance that you achieved this morning with Bongani Bingwa. But you never know. You've got the runs, as they say in cricket. The other guy still has to get them. The claret jug is the trophy awarded for the British Open in golf. The title of the documentary movie about the American First Lady is Melania Trump, the subject of that documentary. Okay, so 3 is the score to beat. Selby Masakela on the line from Centurion. Your time starts now.
3, 2, 1.
Spell the word curtain.
Curtain.
Correct. True or false? A toque is a chef's hat with 100 pleats.
False.
True. How many provincial capitals does South Africa have?
11.
9. Which team fields more players, volleyball or baseball?
Volleyball.
Baseball. Which of the 7 colors is in the middle of a rainbow?
Yellow.
Green. Complete the saying, discretion is the better part of what?
Pass.
Valor. How many different South African coins are currently minted?
6.
Correct. Complete the title of Donald Trump's book, The Art of the What?
War.
Deal. In which sport would players compete for the Ballon d'Or?
The Ballon d'Or would be soccer.
Correct. True or false? There are 26 bones in the human foot.
True.
Okay. That is the end. I think I heard the answer true come through there. Let's look at scores. The judges, what have you got? Okay, the consensus is 3 as well. So what that means is Selby Masakela managed to get 3 right, and Modise Matube managed to get 3 right. So there's only one conclusion we can draw from that, is that it's time for sudden death. Okay, sudden death coming up. I'm going to ask you each one question, one after another, in turn, in other words. And the first, when somebody gets it wrong and somebody else has got it right, we will have our winner. Just some advice. There's no point in saying pass, because if you pass, the chances are that means you will lose. So give it a go. I'm going to start with you, Modise. After which major war was the Treaty of Versailles signed?
After 1918 war. First World War.
Yep, First World War is correct. Coming up to you, Selby. After which major war was the United Nations founded?
World War II.
Correct. Back to you, Modise. What sport does Damian Willemse play for South Africa?
He plays Damian Willemse. He plays rugby.
He does play rugby indeed. Selby, back to you. What sport did Itumeleng Khune play for South Africa?
Soccer.
Correct. We still are deadlocked. Sudden death is still on the go. Back to you, Modise, for this question. Which 3-letter word beginning with S means to scatter seed?
To sow.
To sow is correct. Selby, which 3-letter word beginning with S means to watch secretly?
Spy.
Correct. Here we go again. Back to you, Modise. In movies, which superhero can be weakened or killed by kryptonite?
It's Superman.
Superman is correct. Selby, your question. In the famous story, what emerged from Aladdin's lamp when he rubbed it?
Light.
No, boy, you took it right down to the wire. The answer is a genie. Selby, you could not have pushed harder, but you've just fallen one sudden death question short as we complete round 4. Well done to you. You put up a great show. You gave us a great contest. But to you, Mudise Matube, congratulations. You are our reigning brain and the brain of the day. That means you've won 1,500 Rand thanks to 702. And you will play again with Bongani Bingwa tomorrow. If you're still standing after that round, you will be the brain of the day and continue the battle for brilliance. Now, I'm sure you're listening there and thinking, know that, I knew that. Well, give it a go. For a chance to prove your mental might and to win your share of 130,000 Rand, visit primemediaplus.com and register. Who knows, you could become the brain of 702 and walk away with the ultimate general knowledge prize. You will never know unless you try. So give it a try. Go to primemediaplus.com, and while you're there, there's plenty of other great stuff, including live streaming tonight of the State of the Nation address. 4 minutes to 5.
You're now listening to 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. Ramaphosa. We had a lot of faith in him, but he's gonna sink the ANC ship as it is and almost sink the country. Yeah, the way I see it. Mandela had a stable ship, but had pirates and good guys, everybody in it, but very steady. Becky took over, then the pirates. He tried to sort out the pirates, but the pirates revolted. Then the pirates took over. And then, ran amok for 10 years. Then Ramaphosa took over, and he just sorted out Treasury and SARS. But yeah, the pirates are still in charge, and Ramaphosa seems to be sleeping and, trying to negotiate with them. Jimmy Midra.
Yeah. So now suddenly that Gautengers are feeling the heat. Now they have to take buckets and go get water from a water tanker. Now suddenly there's a water crisis in the country. Sis, man, Gautengers, you're not VIPs, man. And the media, shame on you for making Gautengers VIPs. It was never headlines when the people of Qwaqwa, the people of Mamusa, the people of Hammanskraal, all over the country were out of water. It was just a 30 minutes headline. Now that the VIPs out of water is a 24/7 headlines. Share, man.
Hi, Tate John and the team. I'm making a very painful plea here. On Bayers Nodia, next to Atterbury Mall, there's a complex there. The water has been washing our cars for the past 2 days. It's on Bayers Nodia. When you drive, the leak is splashing onto our cars. And yet we are listening to the news that people don't have water. Can't somebody just close that thing, even if they don't fix it, but shut off the water? Because it's painful when you see this water doing this and people don't have water. Can somebody just go to Bayers Nodia and close a valve somewhere? Label stop. Full 2 days in Tate John. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow again. Full 2 days. We've been seeing this waterfall spraying from the outside of the road into the road and spraying onto cars.
Okay, so it really is very painful what you're describing, and I think the point you make, Lebo, is absolutely accurate. I mean, if you can't fix it, at least close off the water supply. That's the bit I've always failed to understand. Apart from the fact that it takes seemingly ages to actually fix things, is can you not at least what do you call it? Is it called triage in casualty hospitals? Now, I think triage is when you work out which patients need to be seen first. But if you use medical examples, the first thing is you stop the bleeding. And 2 days of water gushing up to a height where it's actually washing over people's cars. To me, that's tens of thousands of liters. Any water engineers out there, by the way, can tell me, where do you go to turn off the mains? I mean, we do that in our own homes if we live in blocks of flats. Somebody knows where the mains are. This cannot surely be that difficult to do and get done. It's extraordinary, but the expression, as I use most frequently, comes to mind: shocked but not surprised. It's 5 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Will the president make it to the State of the Nation address on time? And Gauteng residents lose faith in government's water interventions. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Let's begin with a development coming from the Western Cape this afternoon. The President's route to this evening's State of the Nation address is currently closed off to traffic due to a fire above Philip Hosane Drive. The vegetation fire has resulted in the road being closed at Hospital Bend. It's understood helicopters have now been deployed to attend to the blaze. The presidential motorcade is due to pass through that area from 5:45 this evening as the president makes his way to Cape Town's City Hall to deliver the State of the Nation address at 7. Traffic spokesperson Kevin Jacobs says fire and rescue teams have been deployed and traffic officials are on the scene.
All vehicles are being diverted towards Nelson Mandela Boulevard due to a fire in the area. City firefighters are on scene, and there are also 2 choppers waterbombing the area.
Now, with the nation just a few hours from the president's address, smaller parties in the government of national unity say they have been properly consulted, unlike last year. This is the second Sona that President Cyril Ramaphosa delivers since the formation of the 10-party national coalition. While the GNU has remained intact, there have been complaints from some parties that the ANC was sometimes acting in silos. EWN reporter Thabiso Koba joins us live now from the Sona red carpet at the Cape Town City Hall. Thabiso, is there a shift in mood by the smaller political parties within the GNU?
Yes, definitely, Mbali. When President Cyril Ramaphosa delivered his State of the Nation address last year, many parties in the GNU, aside from the ANC, said they were not consulted on the content of the speech. Now, this showed up in their reactions to the Sona speech and later during the budget impasse, which almost broke the GNU. However, the mood is different today, with Rise Mzansi's leader, Songezo Zibi, saying that many lessons have been learned from last year and citing the recent GNU's leaders' retreats as one example.
The speech itself needs to be the outcome of a longer process. And I know people want to know, have you been consulted in the last few days? Of course we have been, but for me, if I was being consulted for the first time now, I wouldn't place any value to that consultation.
And this is also shared by the IFP's Parliamentary Chief Whip, Nhlanhla Kgatele.
The level of consultation and cooperation has improved a great deal since last year. You can attest to the fact that there hasn't been any hiccups after the budget speech that we experienced in the last year.
Now, Mbali, later this month, the Finance Minister, Enoch Godongwana, is expected to deliver this year's budget speech. Now, some political parties within the GNU say there won't be a repeat of what happened last year when, for the first time ever, the tabling of the budget speech had to be postponed twice due to infighting within the National Coalition. Thabiso Koba for Eyewitness News, reporting live from the Cape Town City Hall.
Let's stay at the City Hall. A small group of protesters from Operation Dudula has gathered outside the State of the Nation precinct to highlight concerns about the country's economy, poverty as well as education. A designated area has been cordoned off to keep protesters away from City Hall, where the president is set to deliver his Sona speech this evening. Carlo Peterson is there.
Operation Dudula Secretary Zodwa Boy says they want to hear if the president has anything new to say.
We are here to protest because right now as a country we are unemployed. We're looking at the education, the system that is not working for us.
Boy lamented the country's economy, saying the poor are losing hope.
as a country, we are currently sitting at a very high rate of unemployment. Our economy is dying slowly. Poor people are getting poorer.
Police have warned protesters to keep away from the Sona precinct at Cape Town City Hall, where the president is set to address the nation at 7 p.m. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
Alleged crime boss Vusumuzi Matlala will spend the next few days at the Hoshimamburu prison in Pretoria and not the super maximum facility in Kokstad. Matlala, his wife Tsakane and their 3 co-accused returned to the Johannesburg High Court today on an attempted murder charge. They are accused of calling 3 botched hits, one of them being an attempt on the life of Matlala's socialite ex-girlfriend Tebogo Tobejane. Their matter has been postponed to later this month for pre-trial proceedings. Homotso Modise has more.
The Johannesburg High Court has heard that Vusumuzi Matlala has been kept at the Hoshimamburu prison for the past week since his last appearance at the Johannesburg High Court. Upon hearing that Matlala was not taken back to the eBongweni super maximum security prison, Judge William Karam asked his lawyer, Advocate Annelien van der Leeuwen, about his incarceration.
So he's not been taken back to Kokstad yet. He's still here to enable us to deal with all the outstanding issues and to prepare to finalize the pre-trial.
Van der Leeuwen says it seems correctional services decided to keep Matlala at Hoshimamburu because the dates of his court appearances were so close to each other. She says Matlala is set to see a medical practitioner next week. The court has ordered the head of prison at Hoshimamburu to allow Matlala to consult with his lawyers with ease with no obstruction. Khomzo Modise, Eyewitness News at the Johannesburg High Court.
And in Bangladesh, vote counting is underway in that country following its first election since student-led protests ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina in 2024. More than 2,000 candidates are vying for 350 seats in Parliament. Hasina has been convicted and sentenced to death in absentia for ordering the brutal crackdown against protesters 18 months ago. According to United Nations statistics, as many as 1,400 protesters were killed. Results from the polls are expected tomorrow amid widespread hope amongst voters of a return to democracy. Gold is trading at $5,059.16 an ounce. The rand is at 15.83 to the dollar, 21.63 to the pound, 18.81 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $69.40 a barrel.
Boksburg heading towards Brakpan. There's traffic pressure on the N17 eastbound. This is between Osborne and Rondebowl due to ongoing roadworks. Tembisa heading towards Irene. Traffic remains sluggish. R21 northbound approaching Olifantsfontein Road, and in Alexandra heading towards Germiston. Expect about a 20-minute delay. This is on the N3 southbound between Marlborough Drive and Van Buren.
In your sport, Arsenal looking to reopen a 6-point gap at the top of the Premier League standings. Makesi appoint Alan Freeze as head coach, and Eddie Hearn expects Anthony Joshua to fight again following tragic car accident.
A partly cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng tomorrow with showers and thundershowers expected. Johannesburg drops to overnight lows of 16 degrees, peaking at 26. Pretoria 18 and 28, and Vereeniging 17 and 27 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, the president's route to this evening's State of the Nation address is currently closed off to traffic due to a fire above Philip Hosane Drive.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
7:02.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
7:02 Drive, it's 8 minutes past 5. Welcome to the show. In the second half hour between 5 and 6, we're going to be talking to Clement Manyatela and Mandy Wiener. They're in Cape Town. They're in the Parliamentary precinct. They've been there for a while now, well placed to preview what's going to happen at the State of the Nation address, and we'll be talking to them probably from about 25 to 6, 20 to 6 onwards. Before that, we're going to continue our focus on the national water crisis, in particular with an eye on what's been going on in Gauteng over the last while. We will be chatting to Sean Phillips, Director General in the Department of Water and Sanitation. There's quite a bit that he can maybe shed light on. What can be done in the short term? What's the medium term plan? All that and more coming up over the next half an hour. Stephen Curtis will remind us what's been going on the markets, and we will also get the very latest eyewitness news plus traffic updates for those of you who are still making your way home. Thanks for joining us. It's 5:10.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. Good afternoon to you and the team. John, the only best thing Cyril Ramaphosa could say tonight is to just tell South Africans that he has failed and is quitting. John, you know, when the man took over, I thought that would probably be a little bit better, you know, but it's worse. Even the ministers that he appointed, John, are worse. So the only best thing Cyril Ramaphosa could do for South Africans is just to quit. Thank you, Josephine Mondio.
Hi, John. I'm just wondering whether that lady who is talking about a leak on Bears Nadia has actually called the municipal call center to report it. Because if it's not reported, then what are the chances that it's going to be fixed? Are they seeing every leak that we see as we drive around the city? I think not. More than a couple of times, I've actually had to call the city to report a leak on a main road, just like she has described. And I have to say, in my experience, they've been prompt to respond and to actually fix it. So, yeah, I think it's important that at least at the minimum, it gets reported. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, thanks for that input. I'd be interested to know when people have reported leaks, not just in Johannesburg, but anywhere where you live where there are leaking water infrastructure problems. What has been the result? I mean, have you had people address it? I reported a gas leak, or certainly the smell of gas in the area where I lived, and there's still a smell of gas. So, I'll report it again, but those kind of things are dangerous. I mean, these are all systems that are in place and we ought to use them, and I think that point is well taken. But when we do report them, how does it actually turn out? Do you get a response? So let's hear from you on that. Now, in regard to that Beyers Naudé leak, Refuwe Letsua just has an update on that. Give us the very latest, please.
Thank you so much, John. So I don't know if everyone was listening, just in case someone had missed the voice note or the phone call we actually had. There was a lady that said there's a leak. It's been 2 days.
Yes.
Right. This is on the intersection between Christian de Wet and the Blueberry Shopping Complex. And this has been gushing out for 2 days.
But on Beyers
Naudé.
Yeah,
so it's been gushing out for 2 days. So we decided, let's call Joburg Water. So Joburg Water says yesterday they did report it to the Roodepoort depot. Right. And then they said to me they will follow up with what happened yesterday with them. I will also just follow up in a little bit to say, so what did the depot say about this gushing water?
Yes. Because this is more than a leak. This sounds more like a gush is the right
hectic,
word. Because
yeah.
she described how the water was actually landing on their cars, which is not the purpose of that particular water supply. Okay, well, we'll track it down. So in response to the earlier caller, point well made, but the report was made yesterday. And I don't... People who understand water engineering, surely you can turn it off, even if you can't fix the thing that is causing the water to be wasted in this way. 13 minutes past 5.
EWN Traffic.
EWN Traffic is brought to you by South African Airways. Make your move this Valentine's. Book your romantic getaway at flysaa.com. Difficulties out in Boksburg. Let's get the details. Karabo, good day.
Yeah, roadworks causing delays heading towards Brakpan. That's on the N17 eastbound between Osborne and Rondebolt. In Edenville, heading towards Bedfordview. Also, bumper-to-bumper traffic, R24 westbound between Edenvale Road and the Gilulis interchange. Tembisa traffic sluggish on the R21 northbound. This is approaching Olifantsfontein Road. In Alex, traveling towards Germiston, about a 20-minute delay. N3 southbound from Marlborough Drive to Van Buren, while in Bryanston... in Bryanston heading towards Fourways, there's slow-moving traffic N1 southbound from Rivonia Road to Winnie Mandela Drive, and in Irene, traffic remains heavily backed up on Main Road. This is approaching Nelmay-Pierce Drive. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Valentine's weekend is almost here, and this is your sign. Make the move. South African Airways has amazing fares to your favorite destinations. Fly to Cape Town from just 1,144 Rand, Durban from 690 Rand, and Gqeberha from 655 Rand. And that's just the beginning. Explore even more destinations at flysaa.com. Make the move. Surprise your loved one. Make it a Valentine's weekend to remember. Book now at flysaa.com or contact your nearest travel agency. T's and C's apply.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
The Speaker of Parliament, Thogoti Diza, as we look ahead to the State of the Nation address by President Cyril Ramaphosa. And in terms of costs, how are we looking this year compared to where we were last year?
We are looking reasonably well. The cost is more or less 7 million that we've spent for this year. And you'd recall that we could have kept to the same number last year had it not been for the challenges of the inclement weather, the gustly wind that we saw in Cape Town.
Clement Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
Stop and think. Will you survive the AI revolution or will you thrive? Regenesis students are thriving. 11 cutting-edge schools, 111 countries. World-class team of 1,111 with one mission, awakening your potential. Choose from law, business, technology, AI, health, economics, entrepreneurship, public management, skills academy, and digital Regenesis. Undergraduate, postgraduate, upskilling, customized corporate programs. The question isn't, can you afford to enroll? It's, can you afford not to? Enroll now. Regenesis.net. Achieve your dreams.
Aren't you tired of hearing how tough every bucky is? Tough this, tougher that, and being tougherer. But what about a bucky that's actually evolved? Confidence when you need it. Modern comfort because you deserve it. And next-gen tech that's, well, just smarter. Introducing the Chang'an Hunter range from only 5,299 Rand per month. Test drive SA's better balanced bucky today. T's and C's apply.
Chang'an. Driven to evolve.
Smart Steve from Momentum. Hello.
Smart Steve, my daughter just turned 18, right? And now she's got a license and a boyfriend.
You're worried about her safety. With Momentum Safety Alert, she can access help 24/7.
Is that the emergency response version of Curry in a Hurry?
For sure. She can get help at the touch of a button for free.
Free? For all that and all?
Visit momentum.co.za or call 0860 006 784. Momentum Insure, keeping you safe on your journey to success. Momentum Insure is an authorized non-life insurer. T's and C's apply.
The Checkers Extravaganza is now on. Save extra on new deals every week. Like the new 2-ply toilet rolls 9 per pack for $59.99. Be Well blended canola and extra virgin olive oil 1 litre for $69.99. And Flora 40% light 50% regular or gold fat spread 500 grams. Any 3 for 100 Rand. Valid until 15 February 2026. Only at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
Driving the conversation on 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Powered by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
18 minutes past 5 on 702 Drive. Let's focus then on the water crisis. Firstly in Gauteng, but we'll look as well at some national issues as well. We are being somewhat chastised for focusing on Gauteng and ignoring the extent to which this has been an endemic rural crisis for many, many years, and I think that point is well taken. Let's welcome to 702 Drive Dr. Sean Phillips, DG in the Department of Water and Sanitation. Dr. Phillips, welcome. Whenever officialdom in the city of Joburg, but elsewhere as well, is responding to complaints about the situation, they say, well, we have a massive backlog, and then they put a price tag on that backlog. They then tell us how much money they actually have. The latest figures for Joburg from the Executive Mayor: backlog 27 billion rand, current budget for this year 1.7 billion rand. I wanted, though, with you, DG, to better understand that number of 27 billion rand and how it's calculated. Is that calculated in terms of what a city like Joburg is actually paying to have this work done, or is it based on what it actually costs to get that work done? And I ask that in the context of an absolute litany of government overpaying for all kinds of services, whether it's the Gauteng Department of Health or any other entity. Is 27 billion the price, or is there a better price based on actually treating this like the emergency it is?
Good afternoon, John, and good afternoon to your listeners, and thanks for having me. John, I can't speak for the City of Johannesburg and how they calculate their backlog figures.
Right.
But that figure would have been produced by Joburg Water.
Mhm.
Joburg Water has good technical capacity compared to most municipalities which have the water function in South Africa. And I'm sure that their engineers would have done the best professional job possible to do those estimates based on current prices that you get from an open tendering process of doing things like building reservoirs, putting in pumping stations, etc. I'm sure that cost, that estimate includes both backlogs of water and sanitation. You have to look at them together because they go hand in hand.
So, I mean, for example, I understand there's going to be an intergovernmental water war room. It's been noted we also have a bomb squad, a high impact service delivery units, various of those, presidential working group on Joburg. I mean, would it not be possible in the national effort, as increasingly different levels of government are brought in, for there to be a standardization of what should be paid for all of this infrastructure, the pipes and the services related to it? Or is that a level at which national government simply has no say?
So, John, these coordination structures that you talked about, the purpose of them is exactly for coordination. It is important to get coordination because there's different role players involved in water provision. There's Rand Water, which is extracting water from the Vaal Dam and treating it. There's the municipalities. There's us who provide the water into the Vaal Dam through the integrated Vaal River system, etc. And we need to coordinate with the provincial government as well. But so those coordination structures are important, but in terms of the price setting,
yes,
and getting the money to do this work, the key problem is not so much the price of water. It's more the problem of where the revenues from the sale of water are going to. So the first problem in Johannesburg and elsewhere in Gauteng is that on average across the municipalities in South Africa, and it's similar in Johannesburg, non-revenue water is very close to 50%. In other words, Joburg Water has to buy water from Rand Water. It doesn't get any revenue on 50% of that water that it has to buy from Rand Water. And the reason why it doesn't get to revenue on that 50% is firstly because of weaknesses with their billing and revenue collection systems, and secondly because they have a high level of leaks in their distribution system, and thirdly because of other factors like illegal connections. Then on top of that, Joburg, the city of Joburg, takes part of that money from the sale, from part of that revenue from the sale of water and allocates it to other functions. So Joburg Water only ends up getting a fraction of the revenue that it should be getting from the sale of water. So the solution is not necessarily to standardize and set the price of water higher. The solution is to reduce the non-revenue water and make sure that revenue from the sale of water is ring-fenced for the water function.
On an expression you use there, Dr. Phillips, I wonder if you can give us a number. You talk about Joburg Water getting a fraction of the revenue generated by the sale of water. Do you know what that percentage would be? I mean, is it 50%? Is it more? Is it less?
It's difficult to say because it varies all the time. And the other problem in Joburg is because the city of Joburg has been experiencing financial difficulties, Joburg Water doesn't necessarily get all the money that is allocated in the budget. What has been happening is that Joburg Water has been giving a budget. It's been appointing contractors to do things, very important things like build additional reservoir capacity and pumping stations and address the leaks. But then, because of the financial problems elsewhere in the city's been taking that money back out of Joburg Water's account and allocating it to other areas of financial pressure, which until recently was resulting in a situation where some of the contractors on some of these very important projects were leaving site because they hadn't been paid.
Where do we stand on this ring fencing? Because you have spoken, we've had you on the show, and I've heard you speak on other platforms. Is this a plan? Is it? Will it become law? I don't know how it actually works. Is it a Treasury directive? At what point will we get this ring fencing, which would appear to be an absolutely critical element of any kind of medium-term remedy to the crisis?
John, constitutionally, it's a complex issue. As you know, in terms of the Constitution of South Africa, local government is a separate sphere of government with its own elected representatives. And the Constitution confers original powers to municipalities for certain functions, including water and sanitation, which means that those powers can't be taken away by the national government on a permanent basis. And it also limits the degree to which the national government can tell municipalities what to do. There are clauses in the Constitution which says that national government can't intervene excessively in the way municipalities decide to administer their affairs. So for this reason, the approach that the national government has taken, that National Treasury has taken, is to put in place a large new incentive grant, performance-based incentive grant for the metropolitan municipalities, where they will be able to access large amounts of money. The total amount of the grant over this coming 3 years is 57 billion rand.
Yes.
But to access that grant, they need to achieve certain performance targets, and one of those is ring-fencing revenue from the sale of water. And they're all required to have water and sanitation turnaround strategies, which must include ring-fencing of revenue from the sale of water and also targets for reducing non-revenue water.
I want to ask you then if we could just, and I know this is asking you to cover a huge amount of ground in a single question, but if you can do justice, Dr. Phillips. Huge focus obviously on Gauteng and its travails. That would be true with metros generally. A number of our listeners have been saying, look, this has been a crisis for rural areas for a long, long time, and in many ways it's a much more intractable one. Overall, do we have a strategy for dealing with the massive crisis in rural South Africa that's bearing any fruit? And if there are some rays of light, we'd love to be introduced to them.
The problems in rural areas are very similar to those in urban areas and metropolitan areas. The rural municipalities are also not ring-fencing revenue from the sale of water. Their billing and revenue collection systems are weak. They're not budgeting properly for the maintenance of their water and sanitation infrastructure. Often they're not hiring staff with the right skills and qualifications and experience to manage their wastewater treatment works and water treatment works. So the problems are the same, but the results are more severe in many of the rural municipalities because the problems are even more severe, and things like non-revenue water levels are worse, and as a result of that, maintenance is even worse, and the reliability of the water supply is even worse in those areas. So what we're doing to address the issues as DWS is we've brought an act to Parliament, which is tabled in Parliament late last year, and which has now been gazetted for public comment, which is the Water Services Amendment Bill, which will strengthen our hand as DWS to regulate municipal water and sanitation services, and to firstly require municipalities which implement their water and sanitation function using internal departments to get an operating license from us, which will ensure they have a minimum level of capability. And if they don't get such a license from us and they don't try and improve, the amendment bill says that our minister can then approach a court of law to require the municipality to appoint another licensed water service provider, which could be, for example, a company on a long-term concession or an arrangement like Mfuleni local municipality is now doing with Rand Water to create a utility company which will provide the services in Mfuleni on a professional basis, on the basis of a long-term concession.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sean Phillips, DG in the Department of Water and Sanitation. I mean, one of the crucial things with these problems is to actually name them and name them with a degree of precision. And I heard Minister in the Presidency, Kumbuzo Nchaveni, talking earlier on Newsroom Africa. She was asked about the failure of various projects they had. She said, well, the problem was getting the institutional arrangements right. And in reference to the Guyani water project in Limpopo, for example, she was saying, well, we need to make sure we have powers to do this and powers to do that. Well, just a reminder, the Guyani water project, in the end, costs ballooned from 502 million rand to over 5.5 billion rand. And eventually the SIU had to step in, reveal corrupt relationships that were in existence. And of course, people still wait for the water. Always best to be clear and honest about what went wrong. Therein lies a solution, I think. 29 minutes past 5.
EWN Business.
Stephen Curtis, good afternoon to you.
Afternoon, John. Well, the JSE All Share ending the day at 0.38%, 122,213 points. Financials up 0.77%. Industrials up 0.2%, and resources down 0.12%. I'm sure South 32 had a big impact. They were down nearly 3.5% on the day. They did confirm they're going to close the Mosul aluminium smelter in Mozambique next month. Will devastate the Mozambican economy, John. It's mainly because there's no power agreement to supply the smelter with electricity from the Cabora Bassa Dam. Telkom down nearly 3%, Pick n Pay down 2.46%, Exaro down 1.78% as well. Some of the gold miners also down a little bit. Aspen up nearly 8%, John. They did have an update up yesterday, I think an explanation for what's happening that steadied the market, and so people quite keen on that today. Sasol up 7% as well, and AB InBev up nearly 5%. They did say their earnings per share were up by around 6% in the full year to December, although people are drinking less beer and volumes are down by 2%. And then the Foschini Group, they're up 2.63%, and Truworths also up nearly 2.5% on the day. Bad news for Tongaat Hewlett. Looks like they're going to apply for that company to be provisionally liquidated. The business rescue practitioners say there's nothing more they can do to rescue it after that Vision transaction fell apart. There was that accounting scandal, of course. And then Altron confirming their headline earnings per share expected to be down by more than 30%. In the US today, the Dow Jones is up 0.37. The Nasdaq is down 0.28. The S&P 500 up 0.09. Very mixed picture, John, which is what we've seen coming out of the US over the last little while. I think investors looking for some kind of direction. The gold price, $5,053.85. Platinum, $2,119. Brent crude slightly weaker today, $68.78. And then the rand doing okay ahead of the big speech, 15.83 to the dollar, 18.81 to the euro, and 21.64 to the British pound. Obviously, the money show tonight is the big speech from 7 o'clock by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
702 Drive. Thank you, Stephen. It's 28 minutes now to 6 o'clock. Latest news with Mbali Dlamini. Good afternoon.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. The president may be forced to take a detour on his way to City Hall this evening to deliver his State of the Nation address. His planned route from Rondebosch was along Philip Hosane Drive, but that's been closed off to traffic due to a fire on the mountain slopes above the road heading into the Cape Town CBD. Ramaphosa's motorcade is scheduled to pass through the smoke-affected route within the next couple of minutes. Cape Town Traffic's Kevin Jacobs.
All vehicles are being diverted towards Nelson Mandela Boulevard due to a fire in the area. City firefighters are on scene, and there are also 2 choppers waterbombing the area.
Senior IPID investigator Nomsa Masugu has denied claims that the police watchdog delayed the murder investigation of Emmanuel Mbenze. Mbenze was killed allegedly by members of the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department in April of 2022. He was previously linked to a business robbery in Boksburg, and his body was later found in a lake in Germiston. Masugu wrapped up her testimony at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry today, which is probing allegations of police corruption. Ntutu Zelonene reports.
Senior IPID investigator Nomsa Masugu says claims that IPID investigators were protecting implicated EMPD officers, including Deputy Chief Julius Mkwanazi, are false. Masugu also adds that investigators could not provide regular updates on the case to protect the investigation and their own safety. Earlier today, Masugu revealed that she received death threats and that her car was shot at while she was driving with her family in 2024.
He was never protected. As you can see that his statement was taken long ago, not because of this commission. If the time comes for him to be arrested, he knows very well that we will arrest him. It's not that we are scared.
She's asked the commission to recommend that investigators be given security protection. Ndutu Zelonene, Eyewitness News.
Tshwane's water infrastructure continues to face significant strain, with several reservoirs lying empty. City officials say while some reservoirs are gradually recovering from depletion, they are showing signs of stabilization. The cities of Tshwane and Johannesburg have been experiencing major water outages following an explosion at the Zekerbosch treatment plant that has compounded water supply challenges. Tshwane spokesperson Selby Bukaba is urging residents to reduce water consumption to help stabilize the system.
The systems that are still experiencing major challenges include the Mabopane Main and Kreisfontein reservoirs, which are still at critically low levels. Mabopane, Soshanguve L and Soshanguve DD reservoirs are still empty. There is no active supply in these systems at this stage, and the city's technical teams are facing difficulties in restoring flows due to the network's depletion.
And in the UK, a 13-year-old boy has been charged with 2 counts of attempted murder after he allegedly stabbed pupils at a school in London. It's alleged he stabbed 2 boys who were rushed to hospital in a serious condition. The teen has also been charged with having a knife on the school premises, as well as using insect spray on a 3rd child. London has long grappled with teenage violence and the use of knives, while violence within schools has been growing nationwide. The teen is expected to appear in court soon. A partly cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng tomorrow, with showers and thundershowers expected. Lows of between 16 and 18 degrees and highs of between 26 and 28.
In Boksburg, travelling towards Benoni, there's slow-moving traffic on the N12 westbound between Jet Park Road and Atlas Road. Still in Boksburg, this time heading towards Brakpan. Traffic pressure N17 eastbound between Osborne and Rondebold due to ongoing roadworks. And if you're driving in the Irene area, traffic remains heavily backed up main road approaching Newsmakers.
The top story in EWN, the president may be forced to take a detour on his way to City Hall to deliver the State of the Nation address tonight due to a fire on the mountain slopes.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
The water crisis continues. Press conference with leaders. First of all, tried to gaslight you and I by saying, you use too much water. Politicians told us they are so devastated by this water crisis. See, they are with us. When they need to take a bath, they've got to book into a hotel to go and take a bath. Hey, my friend. Man. How tone deaf can you be? And what's scary is that leaders don't even realize that they are so tone deaf. They cannot read the room. Hotel room. Take a bath. Say, must be nice, eh?
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
Get your brain in the game, because the brain of 702 is back with your chance to flex your general knowledge smarts. There's 3,000 Rand up for grabs every day, and Brain of the Week wins 10,000 Rand plus a spot in the finals to compete for the grand prize, 30,000 Rand cash. Enter on primemediaplus.com now, then catch 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa and 702 Drive with me, John Perlman, for your chance to be the brain of 702. TCs and more on primemediaplus.com.
Kick off to glory with Hollywood Bets and Asi Shege. Be in the game. Go
full speed ahead with the epic competition. You stand to win a share of 4 million rand in cash and prizes, including an all-new Toyota Corolla Cross. Bet 10 rand or more on any soccer fixture or fixtures online or at your nearest branch. Live life in the fast lane. Bet now for your chance to score. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp HELP to 076 675 0710.
This Valentine's weekend, Motor Select is giving you 3 days to find the one. That one car that just feels right. The one you can't stop thinking about. The one that comes with up to 70,000 Rand cash back. You've got 3 days, 12 to 14 February. Visit motorselect.co.za or any participating Motor Select dealership to find the one and make it official. T's and C's apply.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Uncle John, Alex from Pretoria here. There is no way that they can say that illegal connections. All these quarter camps that are left to mushroom and they're doing nothing about it, where do they get all the water? City of Joburg did it themselves. Instead of slowing down all these quarter camps, they let them be because the politicians are buying votes. And that's a fact.
Good day, Tate John. Tate John, hands off our president and the ANC. The blame is on us, people on the ground. We vote for the ward councillors who are useless. And then the next thing we want to blame our president. We elect our ward councillors who knows that they don't do nothing for us on the ground, and we vote them over and over. Now we want to blame our president. Hands off our president. Today he's going to say what needed to be said. Hands off our president, please do. Thank you, Nasho, as always.
Hi to the 702 team. I would like to just tell you that my name is Louise and I'm in Melville in First Avenue, and I would like to tell you that we have been without water since the 12th of January. And we are collecting water kindly at the behest of the mosque and the imam that allows us to come there to the borehole when they do not have prayer times. And if it wasn't for that mosque, well, we would have been in a much, much worse situation. And I would just like to give thanks to Allah and to the people at the mosque and the imam and all the people that go there for prayers for allowing us to come there and take their precious borehole water. Thank you so much. Bye.
Yeah, people pulling together and working together as we deal with this crisis. 702 Drive. It's 19 minutes now to 6 o'clock.
EWN Sport.
Tolakele Mganga, very good afternoon to you. What you got from the sports field?
Well, John, Brentford will seek to disrupt Arsenal's title chase when they clash in the Premier League tonight. Following Manchester City's 3-0 win over Fulham last night, there's no room for error for Mikel Arteta's Gunners, who are looking to reopen a 6-point gap.
I understand that, but it's the things that we cannot control. So it's completely up to us what we have to do. We have to focus on us, on the presence. We know every 3 days what is coming, and just enjoy that.
Makesi have confirmed the departure of head coach John Maduka and the immediate appointment of Alan Freese as his successor. The club currently sits 16th in the Betway Premiership with 11 points from their 15 games. Public Relations Officer Abel Rakomo yesterday confirmed that Maduka had been placed on recess as they tried to find a way to remain in the division.
Primarily because of his performance contract is actually being assessed. You will realize that where we're sitting as a team, we're actually at the bottom of the league block. He started the season with us. We are now midway the season. It's always important that we must actually be able to assess his performance. So the club has decided that we may not be able to assess his performance with our undivided attention. So our attention is that let's actually place him on recess.
Captain Laura Waldbard will mark her 10-year anniversary as an international cricketer this month as she returns to the venue where she made her debut. That's when the Proteas women face Pakistan in the second T20 in Benoni tomorrow. South Africa can win the series with success in the encounter, and Anari Dirksen has discussed what they would need to do to achieve that feat.
execution. I think we probably had a couple of plans, but then just mis-executed, and that can cost you in a game, especially when someone's on 80 odd banging it. So I think just execution, keeping things simple, make sure that your plans are clear before you start running in, especially when there's a bit of pressure and a bit of chaos going around. So just calm minds and simple plans.
And promoter Eddie Hearn expects Anthony Joshua to fight again following the death of two close friends, but admits there's no guarantees. The two-time world champion sustained minor injuries in the road traffic accident in Nigeria on the 29th of December that claimed their lives and returned to training in January as he continues to process his grief. Hearn has promoted Joshua since he turned professional, having won gold at the 2012 Olympics, and believes he will step back inside the ropes this year. Tolagile Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. You could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Karabo Charlie, Boksburg was a problem. Boksburg is a problem. How big of a problem?
Yeah, heading towards the Benoni area, there's slow-moving traffic. N12 eastbound between Jet Park and Atlas Road. Still in Boksburg, this time traveling towards Brakpan. Traffic pressure, N17 eastbound from Osborne to Rondebowl due to ongoing roadworks. Edenvale, bumper-to-bumper traffic, R24 westbound, that's heading into Bedfordview. This is between Edenvale Road and the Kilulis interchange, Tembisa. Traffic remains sluggish. This is traveling towards Irene. Traffic is sluggish in the Tembisa area. R21 northbound approaching Olifantsfontein Road, while in Alex you can still expect heavy delays on the N3 southbound. This is between Marlborough Drive and Van Buren, while in Bryanston, slow-moving traffic, N1 southbound between Rivonia Road and Winnie Mandela Drive, and in Irene, traffic remains heavily backed up on Main Road approaching the Maypierce. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
This month is all about love, but your manager won't be feeling the love if you're late for that big presentation. Fortunately, the Outsurance pointsmen are here to ease the traffic congestion so you can get to the office on time. With the Outsurance pointsmen on the roads for the past 20 years, we can all get where we need to be quickly and safely. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In proud partnership with 702, show them some love online using #PointsmenLove. Licensed insurer and FSP.
Stay with 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
Today and tomorrow are the days when I miss our beloved and talented Tsidi Madia. How she would have been so busy, how she would have walked that precinct and asked those hard-hitting questions. May she continue to rest in peace. That's from Debucho in Pretoria. Here, Debucho. It will be very difficult to be at Sona this year without the delightful, ever hardworking, hard-hitting, the late Tsidi Madia, who was an essential part, of course, of EWN.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
Meet Tato Makgape, CMO of Koitech, proving that South African tech can take on the world. Tato, why was Telkom Business the right call for your team?
Bottom line was connectivity and ensuring that we have the right service provider.
With Telkom Business Fiber, Koitech seamlessly connects local innovations with international manufacturing. Get Stream Connect Fiber from just 399 Rand per month. Call 10213 or click telkom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Imagine a holiday where the only thing on the to-do list is to enjoy yourself. With NCL, world-class dining, award-winning entertainment, and a variety of onboard experiences come as standard. So enjoying yourself is easy breezy. We sail to over 400 destinations worldwide, including Europe, the Caribbean, and beyond. Your dream cruise is calling. Visit ncl.com for the best deals or contact your travel agent today. Conditions apply. Norwegian Cruise Line. It's different out here.
Fashion, art,
art, and music all come together for one incredible day at Mahindra Fusion Fest 2026, powered by 702. To find out more, we chatted to Mahindra South Africa CEO Rajesh Gupta.
Mahindra Fusion Fest has been first conceived for South Africa last year, and this idea has a philosophy known as Ubuntu about Vasudevaya Kutumbakam, which says the entire world is a family, which is saying together we rise. We've been working upon is celebrating this youthful vibrancy of this rainbow nation.
Hit primemediaplus.com for the full interview and get the lowdown on Mahindra Fusion Fest 2026, powered by 702. 7 March, Sunbet Arena. Tickets now at Ticketmaster.
702 Drive with John Perlman was proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Okay, let's begin then the build-up to 702's coverage of the State of the Nation address, the 10th, delivered by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Mandy Wiener and Clement Manyatela are both in the parliamentary, I said the parliamentary precinct, but of course these things have changed now, I think. They'll tell me exactly where they are. Mandy and Clement, a very good afternoon to both of you. Mandy, I'll start with you. We are hearing that the president might be delayed because of a fire on Philip Khosana Drive. People will know it's the road that goes along the side of the mountain. Any update on that?
Good afternoon, John. Coming to you from the Grand Parade just outside City Hall, which is where we're standing. A bit of a bluster over here, but bright sunlight. A beautiful tablecloth coming down off the mountain. So I must tell you, I flew in a bit late today. So I, about 2 hours ago, drove in from the airport and had to detour because of that fire along Philip Khosana Drive. So I had to come in through Black River, through Salt Lake that way. And you could see the smoke along the mountain, which would be the road that the president would use. It seems unlikely, and there's no official communication at this stage, that he will actually be delayed. It seems as though that fire has been dealt with. We can't see the smoke at all from down here at City Hall. So I think about an hour or so ago, it may have been a concern, but I think they have it under control now.
So, Clement, let's look ahead to the speech tonight then. I mean, I obviously assume that you've been chatting to your network of many and important contacts. Are we going to hear anything remarkable tonight, or is this going to be pretty much Sona number 10, not that dissimilar to 9, 8, 7 and 6?
Good afternoon, John. I mean, you know that Sona can tend to be quite redundant and repetitive, recycled commitments and promises, and not so much updates on what the president has committed in the past. But what I'm hearing is that the president doesn't really want this to be that usual kind of a Sona. He wants to try and be more sympathetic to the lived realities of South Africans. You know very well, you've covered it extensively on your show and across the station, the water crisis, the 2 ministers that the president has recalled from Sona to focus on that water crisis in and around Johannesburg. So that is expected to take center stage. Already the president made some announcements last year, if you remember, about the issue of water, infrastructure, aging infrastructure. I'm expecting that perhaps he gives us an update on where that process is, seeing the frustration that is coming from some people from parts of the country, but also the criminal justice system. That is going to be center stage.
Yes.
And it's not enough to just say, look at what I've done with the Madlanga Commission, look at what I have also done instructing the National Commissioner and the Police Minister to establish that special task team to investigate some of these police officers. It's not enough to say that. So how is the president going to lift the mood and somehow assure South Africans that as rotten as the SAPS has been revealed to be, be confident that I'm working on it.
And Mandy, I'm interested to know from you whether there's any recognition on the side of the presidency in particular, but government more generally, that another list of institutional changes, either a new working group or task force or war room or whatever they might call it, is really not going to cut it, particularly in an election year, that there've got to be specific concrete promises, I beg your pardon, with timelines and budgets.
Well, Clement used the phrase lived experience, and I've been hearing that phrase everywhere at the moment because I think that's really what it's going to come down to. Is it's one thing for the president to expand on Operation Vulindlela or the stability of the electricity grid or successes such as the upgrade of the sovereign credit rating, that laundry list of successes. But he really needs to speak to the lived experience of South Africans if he wants to truly be empathetic. I don't think it's going to fly, and I think he knows it's not going to fly if we get another bomb squad, war room, whatever it may be, like we've announced in Gauteng over the past few days. I think that people want to see change to their lived experience. And I think the pressure is going to be on the president there to try and do that, because so often what the president describes in his State of the Nation address is something so abstract that everyday South Africans can't actually relate to it. And I think that is perhaps what he's going to try and do differently today. Remember, of course, it is a local government election year.
Yes.
He's going to have to balance the government of national unity interests. It's so interesting to interview leaders of other political parties in the GNU who are trying to be supportive, but it's still a local government election year, so they're still trying to hold the president to account.
Clement, Mandy's raising a really interesting point at the tail there about how, on the one hand, the other parties who've been part of the governing arrangements of the country have some skin in the game for it to come across as, well, the country's not doing that badly, A, and B, the country has some plans. But as Mandy points out, it's an election year as well. Do you think that's going to change not just the speech in any way, but also the way in which the speech is received and listened to?
Well, isn't it tricky for particularly the Democratic Alliance, John? In fact, when they joined the GNU, we knew then that things are going to change so drastically. So today I've been watching the language that they use. As Mandy says, they don't want to appear as though they are indicating to South Africans that the GNU is failing, right, in some of the government programs. So that's one part. They want South Africans to know that, look, we're part of this thing and it's working. But at the same time, they don't want to give too much credit to the president, who still belongs to another organization. So what I've picked up in their language, having spoken to Dean McPherson, Karabo Kakao, and some of the members of the GNU who are in opposition, is they look at, particularly the DA, the successes of their ministers. I mean,
yes,
that is almost like the brief that the DA politicians were given today. What they do is they tell you about what's happening at public works and infrastructure. They tell you about basic education, about the headwinds that are also taking place in other departments that are being run by DA ministers. So that's been the language. But I had a meeting with John Steenhuisen today. Believe it or not, John.
Yes.
We have buried the hatchet. He asked for a meeting and I went to his office. And one of the questions I asked him was, what's going to happen after the State of the Nation address today? Do you still hold a press briefing? Do you still become so critical? And he said, yeah, they will hold the press briefing. Nothing really changes because he comes here and speaks as the leader of the Democratic Alliance. And they want us to believe that as much as they can be in the GNU, they still have some level of autonomy and they will criticize if they think the president hasn't hit the right mark.
Mandy, potential disruptions before the president actually gets a chance to speak, usually point of order followed by order and then point of order. And we've seen the dance and we know the script. Are we going to have it again tonight? Is there any way of knowing, by the way?
I would be very surprised if we see that happen tonight. I think that's very 2022, if you want to put it like
it's
that.
It's old, yes.
Yeah, it's old. It's old tactics. I'd be surprised if we see that today. I think if you're reading the room, it doesn't seem as though that's the case. It's always going to be interesting to see what the EFF and MK do, how they do react to what the president has to say, and again, because you have so many former opposition parties that are now actually in government, it's almost as though that opposition is muted in a way. Often it falls to Action SA or one of the other parties to be particularly vocal of the president,
yes,
and what the president is saying. So watch out for what they have to say after the State of the Nation address tonight. I think from the DA, from the UDM, from the Patriotic Alliance, we'll probably have affirmations more than anything else.
And Clement, is there one thing, if I were to offer you a choice, pick something that you absolutely want to hear clarity and cohesive thinking and determination from the president. What would make you say, even if you don't buy the entire package offered in the speech, where you might just say, okay, on that one he's got it right? What would you be looking for if that was the standard?
John, we have a crisis in this country right now with our criminal justice system. I don't know about you, but I am left really devastated as a citizen. I'm left disillusioned. I'm confused. I'm scared about my safety and the safety of my loved ones. So I think a lot of South Africans are concerned about the SAPS and the rot that has been exposed. I mean, we're not talking here about lower levels of SAPS officials. We're talking all the way up. And I think that's the biggest concern to every single South African. And I would like to hear the president not repeat what he's already said, but as the head of state, give me some confidence that I know that at least the head of this country is working on it. And we are going to get to the bottom of this and revamp the SAPS. I think that's one thing I would like to hear from the president.
Mandy, same question for you. You have 45 seconds.
Same answer. In fact, when Clement said criminal justice system, I said I agree. For me, I think that's the most pressing. And I think that there are tangible things he can do. I think the rise in targeted assassinations, hits being carried out, I think there needs to be proper accountability for that. Better whistleblower legislation, better corruption legislation, looking at the Criminal Procedure Act. I know that that's something that the Justice Department has been doing. And I think true accountability. Give more money to the NPA. Give more money to the police.
Yeah. For me, absolute candor on why it is that so many people don't have water. Please don't tell us it's about institutional arrangements. Please don't tell us it's global warming or leaking pipes or too many people moving to urban areas. Be frank and admit that all of these arms of government had money to fix things. They haven't used it properly, and this is the plan to make sure that they do. Anyway, that is the State of the Nation address coming up. You're in the very, very capable and interesting hands of Clement Manyatela and Mandy Wiener. We thank them for their time on 702 Drive. They're back with you after the news. Good night.
This is EWN.
Good evening, I'm Maki Molapo. We begin in Cape Town, where the Umkhonto weSizwe Party is holding a picket on the sidelines of City Hall, where the State of the Nation address is set